Hey listeners, how are you all? Thank you so much for being our awesome members. There's a lot to come more, sit tight, be comfy, put your headphones, now let's begin. Fang Xue was at home, contemplating her life and reminiscing about the past. At 15, Fang Xue lost her family in a tragic accident. They weren't the most loving parents, but they weren't bad either. At 18, she left school and managed to start a company, gradually expanding it until today. At only 23 years old, Fang Xue had placed her company among the top 100 in the country. However, her whole life, she had felt empty, never experienced love, and didn't understand the purpose of life. Tired of lying in bed one Sunday, Fang Xue decided to go outside and take a walk. After walking through the square near her house for 10 minutes, the sky suddenly darkened. Surprised, Fang Xue looked up and saw something that left her paralyzed with shock, something beyond her comprehension. A giant finger approached at high speed. When Fang Xue recovered from her shock, she realized that she was in a completely dark and cold place. Did I die? That was Fang Xue's first thought. So this is what death is like? So empty? And what the hell was that thing I saw before I died? A finger? While Fang Xue was lost in her thoughts, a bright light suddenly engulfed her, making her lose consciousness. Sometime later, when Fang Xue regained consciousness, she realized she had a body with her previous appearance, or rather, almost. Her body was transparent, and when she tried to touch something, her hand would simply pass through it. After a few seconds of contemplation, Fang Xue decided to look around and realized she was on a white platform emitting a faint, holy, divine, and pure glow. Shaking off her daze, she noticed that there were more people in the same situation as her. Just as she was about to ask the person closest to her about the situation, she heard a divine voice from a man capable of leading one's soul astray. "Everyone, please look up," ordered the voice. When Fang Xue looked up, she saw the silhouette of a man glowing in white light, preventing her from fully seeing his appearance. But she knew he was definitely someone handsome and extraordinary. "First of all, I must inform you that you have died," said the voice calmly, causing an uproar among the people. "Please calm down," the voice said again, silencing the noise. "My name is Samsara, a god, more specifically, the god who takes care of reincarnation. And since you died unjustly, due to the aftermath of a battle between two divine beings, I will grant you the opportunity to reincarnate," Samsara announced. The silent place grew even quieter before exploding into noise soon after. "Could you explain a little more?" someone brave asked aloud. "Basically, you died due to a fight between two gods, and since that was unfair, I will reincarnate you in a new world. A world where it is possible to reach the same level as its gods, immortal beings, and destroy stars, planets, and worlds with a casual movement," Samsara explained. These outrageous words spoken calmly by Samsara caused the crowd of souls to erupt in an uproar. To be immortal? Casually destroying stars, planets, and worlds? Maybe that would be fun, Fang Xue thought, beginning to feel excited about the idea. "Okay, I will start now," said Samsara as a bright light exploded from him. A few seconds later, all those souls simply vanished. All except Fang Xue, who stood alone on that gigantic white platform, looking around in stunned silence. Hasn't a soul been sent for reincarnation?" murmured Samsara, appearing even more stunned than Fang Xue. "I see. Now I understand what went wrong with you," Samsara suddenly said to Fang Xue. "What went wrong with me?" Fang Xue asked, looking at the shining male silhouette. "Your fate has too much karma, so you can't enter the reincarnation cycle. To solve this, I must cleanse your soul by sending you to the hell of the mortal world," Samsara stated, as if sending a soul to the scariest place in the mortal world was something normal. Karma? Hell? Fang Xue couldn't understand what was going on, but she knew it wasn't good at all. Yes, hell, a cursed place in the mortal world that even the strongest and fiercest demon fears to enter. "Why am I going there?" asked Fang Xue, still confused, not realizing that Samsara could read her thoughts. "Basically, you have a lot of evil karma within you, and to cleanse it, I am going to send you to a place where you can atone for your sins and die in peace." Fang Xue didn't fully understand everything, but she knew she would be forced to go to a horrible place just to die miserably. An overwhelming anger flooded Fang Xue's mind. She may not understand the concept of karma, but she knew she was not evil, and somehow this god was plotting against her. But before she could verbalize her thoughts, She was engulfed in an even more dazzling light than the one that had taken the other souls, and she vanished. However, she could still hear a murmur from Samsara. I hope that anomaly dies soon. Story of a little girl and her encounter. In a higher world on the mortal plane, there are predominantly two races. Humans and demons. Both races have been in conflict with each other since the primordial times of that world. It is due to this conflict that Fang Xue, a young girl around 16 years old, finds herself abandoned in a place where the earth is dark, dry, and barren, with 1/3 of her bones broken. This desolate place is hell, where sunlight and any being dared not approach, and the moon has shone eternally since primordial times. How did it come to this? Fang Xue thought as she lay with her back to the earth, her snow-white hair fanned out and contrasting against the darkness. Her eyes, also completely white, stared at the moon as she recalled the events that led her to this situation. Fang Xue was born to a demon and a humana forbidden union. Her parents, powerful cultivators, met while exploring a dimension left behind by a renowned cultivator from the past. Initially, being from warring species, they had conflicts, but they eventually explored the dimension together and fell in love. Unexpectedly, Fang Xue, the product of their love, was born a child of mixed blood, half-demon and half-human. It was unheard of for such a child to exist. However, when Fang Xue was only 6 years old, some influential members of the human race discovered her true identity. Disgusted by the idea of a human child having demon blood, they formed an alliance with the demons to hunt her down and kill her. Her parents protected her, fleeing for 10 years, but in the end, they were captured and killed. Fang Xue was then taken and used as a sacrifice to the supposed being that dwelled in the depths of hell. To ensure her death in hell, they broke 1/3 of her bones and crippled her cultivation, which was only at the 3rd level of body training. In a world where the strong rule over the weak, Fang Xue was considered talentless trash for only reaching the 3rd level of body training at the age of 16. Ha! It looks like I will be joining you soon, father, mother, Fang Xue thought wistfully, remembering her loving parents and the hardships they endured because of her. If I were strong, I could change everything, Fang Xue thought as her vision blurred and her thoughts grew sluggish. If there is a next life, I swear I will kill everyone who made my parents suffer, Fang Xue thought coldly as her consciousness faded, and her heart took its final beat. I didn't die, Fang Xue thought, calmly surveying her surroundings. She found herself in a completely white place with a few dark spots resembling stars, tarnishing the purity of the surroundings. Is this what the afterlife is like? How boring, Fang Xue thought as she aimlessly wandered through the endless white expanse for what seemed like hours or perhaps days, until she encountered something different. In the distance, she saw boundless darkness. Although it appeared terrifying, it exuded a warm and cozy feeling. Unconsciously, Fang Xue walked toward the darkness, but she attempted to cross over, a barrier prevented her from doing so. She persisted for a while, but her efforts proved fruitless. Finally, when Fang Xue gave up and turned away from the darkness, she heard a loud noise emanating from it. Turning back, she discovered a white hole within that darkness. Just as Fang Xue recovered from her shock, something even more incomprehensible happened. A figure of a woman around 23 years old, with long black hair cascading down to her waist and pitch-black eyes that felt like an abyss, was ejected from that hole. But that wasn't what shocked Fang Xue the most. The woman's facial features were identical to hers, only more mature. A few minutes earlier Fang Xue, still in the void and flying toward the supposed hell, suddenly heard a voice. If there is a next life, I swear I will kill everyone who made my parents suffer. The voice sounded like Fang Xue's when she was younger, but the coldness and hatred in that voice made Fang Xue tremble for a moment. While Fang Xue was contemplating the voice she had just heard, a white hole appeared in the void. Looking into the distance through that hole, Fang Xue saw a completely white place that seemed to beckon her. Flying toward the hole, Fang Xue felt a suction force pulling at her. Before she could comprehend anything, she was expelled into a new darkness that seemed less terrifying than the previous void. Emerging from her shock, Fang Xue looked around and noticed the white place that had called to her. However, what she saw surprised her. In that white place, she saw a girl her younger self, except her snow-white hair appeared immaculate and pure, and her eyes were completely white, staring at Fang Xue with astonishment. As they both recovered from their shock, Fang Xue from Earth asked her younger self, "What is your name?" "I am Fang Xue," the young half-demon answered, trying to speak calmly and analyzing the woman in front of her. My name is also Fang Xue. Do you know what is happening here? Fang Xue from Earth inquired, attempting to approach her younger self. No, I believe I died, and then I appeared in this completely white place. While wandering, I found this place, and suddenly you were expelled from a white hole, the young half-demon replied as she, too, approached the older version of herself. When they stood facing each other with a barrier between them, something occurred that changed both their lives and gave birth to the person who would later be known as the Demon Empress of Chaos. Rebirth and the ancient goddess of chaos in hell, where silence always reigned, occasionally interrupted by the sounds of wild beasts. A resounding noise echoed for the first time. It emanated from a mountain at the center of the desolate land. The mountain was so colossal that its peak remained invisible to the eye. At the pinnacle of this mountain, seemingly piercing the void itself, stood a simple bamboo hut. Outside the hut, an incredibly beautiful woman sat quietly, sipping tea. Suddenly, she turned her gaze in one direction with her striking and terrifying eyes, one completely black, resembling an endless abyss, and the other completely white, exuding purity and holiness. Her penetrating gaze pierced through the void, reaching the lifeless body of a young woman with beautiful white hair lying on the desolate land. Interesting, the woman thought, not referring to the fact that a young woman found herself in the most terrifying place in the mortal world, but rather to what was happening inside the young woman's soul. Finally, the world will soon plunge into chaos, the woman thought again, standing up and gazing at the completely dark sky with a murderous intent. Within the black hole, the souls of both beings began to shatter and merge, giving birth to a new soul. However, soul injuries are excruciatingly painful, and 99 of those who suffer severe soul damage either die or descend into madness. The pain of a shattered soul is akin to having one's skin slowly torn off with a piece of hot iron. Accompanied by the pain, the memories, thoughts, and emotions of both. Girls intertwined and clashed, each trying to gain control over the new soul. One of them had never truly experienced love and lived an empty life until she was killed by selfish gods and unjustly condemned by an even more selfish deity. The other had loving parents who, despite enduring persecution for 10 years because of her, never blamed her and always loved her unconditionally. However, their love proved futile as she was too weak to save them, and she could only watch helplessly as they perished before her eyes. One harbored deep hatred and sought revenge against the gods. The other harbored deep hatred for both humans and demons, yearning to avenge her parents' deaths. However, despite their shared desire for vengeance, they were both too weak to accomplish it. There is nothing left to fight for. I want to kill those selfish gods and make them pay. You want to avenge your parents. We both seek revenge, but we are weak. So, let us unite and fulfill our goals, the 23-year-old woman said to her younger self, her voice filled with warmth. I agree. Let us merge and become one. We can achieve our objectives together, the half-demon girl responded, feeling the sorrow and emptiness within her older self. The new Fang Xue opened her eyes, her hair now a deep black with a few strands of white, and her physique that of an 18-year-old, exuding a mature aura. Our past no longer exists. I am you, and you are me. Our goals are one, our wills are now united, thought the new Fang Xue, reviewing the memories of both their lives. While the process of soul fusion unfolded within Fang Xue's soul realm, her physical body underwent changes. Her hair began darkening to an olive-black shade, with a few strands of white remaining. Moreover, her body grew and developed into that of an 18-year-old beauty, radiating an air of maturity. Similarly, her meridians, previously shattered and withered, began reconstructing themselves. Half of them turned pitch black, while the other half took on a snow-white hue. Her heart, once still, started beating, pumping new blood through her veins. Crimson red with subtle golden hues, the mystical essence within the blood strengthened her entire being. As the fusion process concluded and Fang Xue's soul opened her eyes, her physical body followed suit, revealing eyes that were once completely white, now appearing grayish. So, this is hell, Fang Xue thought, rising to her feet and surveying her surroundings. So, this is Qi, Fang Xue mused, sensing a familiar yet enigmatic energy pulsating around her. What should I do now? Fang Xue wondered, unsure of her next course of action. While examining her transformed body and contemplating her options, Fang Xue heard a noise coming from her right. Turning her gaze in that direction, she spotted a beautiful rabbit emerging from the bushes. Unlike the rabbits from Fang Xue's Memories of Earth, this one possessed dark fur and bright violet eyes. A black rabbit with purple eyes, how incredibly fortunate. Recalling her knowledge of this world, Fang Xue remembered that these seemingly innocent rabbits were renowned for their incredible speed and their ability to kill silently. Lost in thought, Fang Xue momentarily let her guard down as she observed the rabbit, but just as she was about to approach it, the creature vanished. Reacting on instinct, she turned her head to the side. Feeling something trickle down her cheek, she touched it with her hand, discovering a red liquid staining her fingers and cheeks. Glancing back at the rabbit, which still regarded her with a tilted head, Fang Xue felt a surge of fear. Fear that she might meet her demise shortly after being reborn. However, that fear was soon replaced by overwhelming anger. While contemplating an escape plan, she heard a voice. "Until you are no longer useless." A soft, yet chilling woman's voice resonated in Fang Xue's ears. Searching for the source of the voice, Fang Xue looked around, only to hear it again. "I am right in front of you," the voice replied. Fang Xue's gaze met that of the rabbit. "Are you that rabbit?" Fang Xue foolishly asked. "Indeed, I am the ancient goddess of chaos, and I can aid you in your quest for revenge." The ancient goddess of chaos responded proudly, her voice reverberating directly in Fang Xue's mind. Perhaps I am too exhausted or have succumbed to madness, Fang Xue thought, unable to comprehend that the rabbit which had just attempted to end her life was now claiming to be an ancient goddess. "Truth and contract, long talks. You are quite rude," said the rabbit, her voice tinged with dissatisfaction. Wait. Did you just read my thoughts?" Fang Xue asked, looking at the little rabbit, intrigued by its abilities but still skeptical about its claim to be a goddess. "HMPF. Reading your thoughts is an easy thing for a goddess like me. I even know about your reincarnation and the fusion of two souls within you," snorted the rabbit, responding with disdain in its voice. Contrary to the goddess's expectations, Fang Xue did not gaze at her with admiration or any similar expression. Instead, her face turned cold as ice, her eyes revealing a murderous intent. While the rabbit was lost in thought, Fang Xue launched a surprise attack. Snapping out of her reverie, the rabbit deflected the attack with relative ease, though still taken aback by its force. She just rebuilt her meridians and doesn't have an iota of qi in her body, yet her attack matches that of someone at the second level of body training, thought the goddess, somewhat surprised by Fang Xue's strength. "Calm down a bit, girl. If I wanted to kill you, I could easily do so," said Li Chang, the ancient goddess of chaos, in her rabbit form. Taking a moment to compose herself, Fang Xue pondered over the rabbit's words and realized that she was right. Losing her temper and acting impulsively could lead to her demise in the midst of a battle. However, her deep-seated hatred for the gods was something she couldn't yet control. "Ha! Sorry for acting like that. Could you explain everything that's going on and why you are here?" said Fang Xue, apologizing and seeking more information about her current situation. "It's okay. I apologize for testing you like that. First, my name is Li Chang, the ancient goddess of chaos. Currently, I exist in this form because I am only a fragment of my former self," Li Chang explained, sighing wistfully at the end. "Anyway, I can shed some light on certain matters, but most of my memories are currently sealed, so some information may be missing. In the past, I reigned supreme in this universe. The gods revered me, and the demons feared me. However, something changed, and an entity from outside this universe convinced the gods and demons to unite and attack me," recounted Li Chang, her small purple eyes reflecting a mixture of nostalgia and a hint of murderous intent. "But my strength surpassed their expectations. It was a brutal war until that entity from outside this universe decided to intervene. We fought for 9 years, but there was no clear winner. Eventually, it employed a strange technique that split my body and soul into 4 parts, sealing them in different locations. Fortunately, a portion of my soul managed to escape the seal and fell into the mortal world," finished Li Chang. Listening attentively to the story, Fang Xue felt a mix of surprise and confusion. Instead of clarifying everything, it only raised more questions. "Wait a moment, I remember my mother telling me about the origin of hell. It was said that an ancient, powerful sect once occupied this place, dominating about 1/3 of the continent. One day, something fell here and annihilated half of the sect, while the remaining half was gradually consumed by a potent energy,
resulting in the creation of the current hell, recalled Fang Xue, her voice tinged with melancholy as she remembered her mother's tale.
Exactly, that something was me. I fell into this place, and my soul was so powerful that even in my weakened state, my aura was enough to create. What you now call hell, Li Chang stated, pride resonating in her voice as she reminisced about her former strength. Okay, but how does all of this relate to me? Fang Xue asked, confused about her involvement in this situation.
Simple. That entity manipulated the gods into bringing souls from different worlds and pitting them against each other in a competition. Each god would support one individual, and in the end, the entity aimed to steal their young bodies brimming with potential, transcending beyond this universe, explained Li Chang, not concealing her disdain for the foolish gods.
Realizing that the destruction of Earth was not accidental and that they were mere pawns in a larger scheme, Fang Xue felt anger welling up within her. However, she still couldn't comprehend why she had been rejected in such a manner. Do you wonder why you weren't placed on this grand chessboard? It's simple. You're someone without destiny, just like me. That's why they fear you more than anything. You're an unpredictable variable they cannot control, declared Li Chang with ease. I understand some things now, but I still don't grasp why you mentioned that those gods are being manipulated by that entity, Fang Xue said, her confusion evident. Those foolish gods believe they will grow stronger and venture beyond this universe, but they are nothing more than pawns in the game of that entity. I don't know its intentions, but I am certain they are far from benevolent, expressed Li Chang, anger seeping into her voice. Well, regardless of that entity's desires, I will simply grow stronger and surpass everyone, whether they be mortals, gods, or higher beings. Anyone who stands in my way will become a stepping stone on my path to the top, declared Fang Xue, her voice radiating pure confidence and unwavering determination, as if her ascent to supremacy was an indisputable fact. To some, these words might seem empty and foolish, but to Li Chang, an ancient goddess who once reigned supreme, they carried an essence that not even the gods possess, a commanding aura capable of making heaven, earth, or any existence kneel before Fang Xue.
What was that? I felt like an ant. Even at my peak, I would be nothing in the face of that aura, thought Li Chang, her soul trembling in fear at what she had just experienced.
Nice words, but let's get to the main point. Do you want to make a contract with me? Li Chang said, trying to steer the conversation back on track, not eager to encounter that terrifying aura again. Karmic oath and karma, contract? Fang Xue repeated, her face displaying doubt. That's right. Despite the beautiful and inspiring words, you are currently nothing more than an insignificant mortal. Plus, you have very little knowledge of this world, despite having the memories of your life here, said Li Chang in an indifferent tone, attempting to conceal her earlier shock. Although displeased with Li Chang's words, Fang Xue knew that she was currently completely powerless. This was most evident when she heard a roar in the distance that seemed capable of instantly killing her if it were closer. I understand what you're saying, but there's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. Especially in a world where the strong devour the weak, replied Fang Xue after a moment of thought. Smart. The contract is just a fancy word. It would be a heavenly oath. Where you would help me find the pieces of my body and soul, and I would help you with my knowledge and aid you in reaching the top, spoke Li Chang, her pace neither fast nor slow, ensuring Fang Xue could understand. I understand the benefits, but if I don't fulfill my side of the deal, what happens? Fang Xue asked. She was already willing to accept it, but she needed to know everything. After all, knowledge is power, no matter the world you are in. You would die. Your physical body would be turned to dust, and your soul would be destroyed, Li Chang replied, not annoyed by Fang Xue's doubts. On the contrary, the more cautious Fang Xue showed herself, the greater the chances of recovering her body and soul. Okay, I accept this oath. What do we do now? Fang Xue replied, her eyes shining with determination. She didn't see any problem with the contract. That goddess would be supporting her, and it would be natural for her to reciprocate. Besides, having such an ancient being as company in this world where she was completely alone would be interesting. Simple. Bring your forehead close to mine, and the terms of the contract will appear in your mind. After that, just say, I, Fang Xue, accept the heavenly oath with Li Chang, said Li Chang, excited at the thought of someday returning to her prime. Fang Xue approached the little rabbit and took her in her arms. So soft, worthy of being an ancient goddess, Fang Xue thought, fascinated by the softness of the little rabbit's fur. Lost in thought, Fang Xue didn't notice the gleam of embarrassment in the little rabbit's eyes. Has she forgotten that I can read her mind? Li Chang thought, her expression turning strange. She, an ancient goddess who reigned supreme in the universe, was being treated like a pet rabbit. Cough, let's continue. Li Chang coughed, snapping Fang Xue out of her thoughts, and a slight blush appeared on Fang Xue's cheeks. Touching the little rabbit's forehead to hers, Fang Xue saw a series of words that were strange but which she could clearly understand appearing in her mind. Fang Xue, accept the heavenly oath with Li Chang. Fang Xue thought, as she repeated those words with determination. Right after she said those words, at the point where Li Chang and Fang Xue's foreheads met, a blinding white light flashed, illuminating a radius of 2,000 miles. Noticing this light, Li Chang was dumbfounded, and her small eyes widened in surprise. A few seconds later, Fang Xue snapped out of her strange state and felt a mysterious force binding her soul. Is this the heavenly oath? Why is Li Chang so surprised? Fang Xue thought, looking at the surprised expression of the small rabbit in her arms. What happened? Did it go wrong? Fang Xue voiced her doubts to Li Chang. Well, looks like we are destined. Ha ha ha, Li Chang replied, averting her eyes and laughing awkwardly, not daring to look directly into Fang Xue's gray eyes. Explain. Fang Xue began to have a bad feeling. What I wanted to do with you was a heavenly oath. Even if either of us broke our part of the agreement and had our soul destroyed, depending on the strength level we reached, we could still enter the cycle of reincarnation, said Li Chang softly. And why can't we enter the cycle of reincarnation now? Fang Xue's bad feeling continued to rise. I think it's because we are both aimless people. Our oath has evolved into a karmic oath. Basically, should either of us die, our karma would be extinguished, Li Chang said, telling half-truths and omitting some information. Again, this karma thing. That damn samsara told me I have too much of this so-called karma. What is it anyway? Asked Fang Xue, somewhat annoyed, remembering that damn god. Karma is something illusory and unpredictable. Even at my peak, I could not completely understand it. But basically, it's like cause and consequence. If you are a demonic cultivator who kills innocent people and commits heinous acts, you accumulate negative karma. When you are reincarnated, this karma would return to you in your future life, explained Li Chang as simply as possible for Fang Xue to understand. In the same way, if you perform good deeds, you accumulate positive karma throughout life. Some people, when they have a large amount of karma in their destiny, are able to affect their own fate, consequently influencing the fate of the world. But erasing or extinguishing a person's karma is basically condemning them to true death. There is no rebirth for that person, finished Li Chang, her voice containing a slight tremor at the end. Even the ancient goddess of chaos fears true death. I understand now, but it doesn't matter. It's my current life that matters. I will either die trying or reach the top. I don't even care if I can't reincarnate, said Fang Xue indifferently, not concerned about the possibility of not entering the reincarnation cycle. That damn god really made up a bunch of nonsense, saying that I have too much evil karma, Fang Xue remembered. That was the reason that God gave her before throwing her into that hole where death was her only path. Li Chang was impressed by the determination in Fang Xue's words, feeling a sense of inferiority. She, the ancient goddess of chaos, truly feared death. But despite her admiration for Fang Xue, she still couldn't reveal that a karmic oath is only possible between destined lovers. Power system and useless goddess. Okay. Let's set aside the details of the oath we took and focus on the task at hand, Fang Xue said abruptly, interrupting Li Chang's thoughts and prompting her to shift her attention. Yes, let's get to business. What would you like to do first? Li Chang responded, trying to wriggle free from Fang Xue's grasp, which still caressed her like a pet. Releasing Li Chang, Fang Xue pondered for a moment about her initial course of action. First, let's discuss cultivation. Although I have some memories of it, they are not as reliable as the knowledge of a goddess, Fang Xue stated after contemplating for a while. The prospect of being able to destroy stars, planets, and worlds filled her with excitement. Now that we have taken the oath, I can directly transmit knowledge to your mind. Get ready, Li Chang replied as a beam of light emanated from her forehead, heading straight for Fang Xue's forehead. Fang Xue closed her eyes to absorb the new information and assimilate it with the memories she possessed, resulting in a clearer understanding of cultivation. Cultivation is a battle against the heavens, harnessing their energy and refining it to transform oneself into a deity. People embark on this path for various reasons, such as seeking immortality, fame, or supreme dominance over everything and everyone. Motivations vary, as do the methods employed. However, regardless of motivations or methods, cultivators are in constant conflict, whether with the heavens themselves or with other cultivators. They use the bodies of those who obstruct their path to ascend, or become stepping stones for others. This has been the way of cultivation since ancient times. Once inside, cultivators continue to ascend through various realms, either increasing their longevity or meeting their demise at the hands of time or fellow cultivators. Cultivation consists of multiple realms, each with its unique characteristics and requirements. Though the realms of cultivation are numerous, even infinite, Fang Xue possesses a better understanding of the first 4 realms. Body training consists of 9 levels and focuses on strengthening the body, establishing a solid foundation for the future refinement of the energy of heaven and earth within the meridians and storing it in the sea of qi. At this level, individuals have minimal contact with heavenly energy or qi. Prior to Fang Xue's rebirth, the previous owner of the body, a young half-demon, had only reached the 3rd level of body training, a level attainable with a little effort. Only after reaching the 4th level of body training can one be considered to have entered the path of martial arts. Following the completion of all levels of body training is the Qi Sense realm. In this realm, individuals can truly sense and refine Qi, storing small amounts within their bodies. This enables the use of martial skills and extends longevity, with individuals in this realm potentially living up to 200 years. Another defining aspect of this realm is the ability to determine one's Qi affinity, which influences the chosen path of cultivation, whether orthodox, demonic, or otherwise. After the Qi Sense realm comes the opening of the meridians, involving the opening and strengthening of all meridians in the body, allowing for the storage of greater amounts of Qi. Longevity increases once more, with individuals in this realm possibly living up to 350 years. The next realm, core formation or opening the dantian, is reached by those who have opened all their meridians and attained sufficient strength. In this realm, a small organ, core, is formed approximately 5 cm below and 5 cm inward from the navel. Within this organ, known as the Sea of Qi, large amounts of Qi can be stored. The main characteristic of this realm is the ability to fly through the skies. Individuals in this realm may live up to 700 years. Opening her eyes, Fang Xue let out a sigh, realizing the vastness and longevity of this path. Her revenge against the gods may take centuries, but she is determined to fulfill it in due time. Now that I have a better understanding of cultivation, it's time to truly begin cultivating. From my memories, I have knowledge of 2 cultivation techniques. One is the most basic, only capable of taking me to the 3rd level of body training. Fang Xue sighed, recalling her past as someone without talent. After a few seconds, Fang Xue found the ensuing silence between her and Li Chang peculiar. She expected the proud goddess to declare that she possessed divine techniques that would make her invincible. Contrary to Fang Xue's expectations, Li Chang lay on the ground, attempting to blend into the dark surroundings. She remained so still that if Fang Xue didn't have an oath and knew Li Chang was alive, she would have mistaken her for a lifeless rabbit or even failed to notice her presence at all. Is she truly a goddess? Fang Xue began to doubt her decision to align herself with Li Chang. Though Li Chang could hear Fang Xue's thoughts and wished to retaliate, she chose to continue playing dead and erase her presence. After all, she was but a fragment of a soul, having lost many memories over time and through battles against an enigmatic being. Her knowledge remained limited. As for divine cultivation techniques, unparalleled martial arts, and mystical skills, she possessed mere fragments of them in her memory. However, even those fragmented techniques and abilities could cause upheaval in the mortal realm. The real issue lay in the requirements each technique demanded for cultivation, which would prove challenging to fulfill in the mortal world. Essentially, only a few techniques of limited usefulness were available for Fang Xue to begin her cultivation journey. In short, despite her boasting and proud claims of guiding Fang Xue in cultivation, Li Chang was currently rather useless. Chaotic Star Formula and First Fight, Li Chang. called out Fang Xue as she walked over and picked up the small rabbit, still playing dead, from the ground. "Ha!" sighed Fang Xue, looking down at the small rabbit in her arms, thinking about how different Li Chang was. Before, she exuded confidence and arrogance, but now she looked like a half-dead animal. "It's okay, give me any cultivation techniques I can practice now. We'll deal with the future when it arrives," spoke Fang Xue, trying to cheer Li Chang up a bit. Upon hearing those words, Li Chang's spirits lifted a bit, and she looked at Fang Xue with a confident and arrogant expression. "Don't worry. Despite only having a fragment of this method, it is undoubtedly second to none when it comes to body training," said Li Chang, lifting her chin arrogantly, forgetting that she was currently a small rabbit, which created a funny scene. Before Fang Xue could comment on her appearance, Li Chang passed the method to Fang Xue through their connection, the chaotic star formula. Even though Fang Xue didn't understand much about cultivation and couldn't differentiate between cultivation methods, she realized how amazing this method was just from the introduction. Use the energy of the stars to effect chaos. Those prominently written words delighted Fang Xue, but she soon realized the problem. With this method, I can train up to the 9th level of body transformation, and it's possible to train even further. But even if I don't quite understand the requirements to go further, they seem a bit absurd, Fang Xue said, dumbfounded by the fact that there were more body-related levels than the requirements.
In fact, there are people who dedicate their lives to cultivating the body, transforming it into a weapon capable of destruction and defense against everything. But this is a path that few follow. In addition to needing a lot of resources, it is extremely difficult and painful, Li Chang replied, clearing up Fang Xue's doubts.
Let's put that matter aside and focus on now. Try to cultivate the first part dedicated to basic body training level, said Li Chang, encouraging Fang Xue to start cultivation. Nodding her head, Fang Xue sat in a lotus position and placed Li Chang on the ground in front of her. Closing her eyes and replaying the steps of the formula in her mind, Fang Xue began to breathe in a specific rhythm and manner. Her muscles began to tense and then relax. This continued for a few minutes, beads of sweat forming on Fang Xue's forehead as she furrowed her brows and persisted in completing the first part of the formula. Li Chang, who was watching, wanted to stop Fang Xue and make her try again later, but she knew that this was a test of sorts for Fang Xue. So she decided to sit back and see what happened, ready to save her if needed. After 30 minutes had passed since Fang Xue started to cultivate the technique, a change occurred. A faint light appeared in the sky of eternal night, where only the moon was visible. The light was dim, and it seemed like it would disappear at any moment, but it tenaciously continued until it began to shine towards Fang Xue. At this moment, Fang Xue was completely drenched in sweat, her eyebrows furrowed even more, however, no pain could be seen on her face. When the light shone on Fang Xue's body, she felt a coolness refreshing her muscles and organs. But before she could fully enjoy that sensation, an immense pressure fell upon her body. Under that pressure, Fang Xue's body began to secrete a foul-smelling black liquid. After 10 seconds, Fang Xue began to find it difficult to withstand this pressure. "You can stop now," Li Chang's voice rang in Fang Xue's ears. Fang Xue stopped circulating the formula and collapsed to the ground, her whole body in pain. She found it difficult to stay conscious. "You did well. Now you can rest," were the last words Fang Xue heard. Before her vision darkened, and her consciousness entered the dreamland. "I know your wish, and I promise to help you fulfill it," thought Li Chang with determination as she looked at the peaceful, beautiful face of the 18-year-old girl. Despite Fang Xue's horrible smell, with sweat mixed with previously expelled impurities, it didn't bother Li Chang as she snuggled close to Fang Xue to rest as well. Opening her eyes, Fang Xue saw a small ball of fur lying next to her, but before she could have any thoughts, she smelled a terrible odor. Sniffing and trying to locate the source of the smell, she realized it was coming from herself. Her body was sticky with sweat and a black liquid with a terrible odor. "Li Chang, wake up and help me get rid of this disgusting thing," Fang Xue said loudly, calling for help from the little rabbit. "So noisy," complained Li Chang when she woke up and rubbed her little eyes with her paws. "There's a river 1 mile (1.61 kilometers) from here. You can wash there," said Li Chang, pointing in a direction with her little paw. Without thinking twice, Fang Xue dashed towards the river. That river has a small two-tailed wolf at the 3rd level of body training nearby. This can be considered a test for her, thought Li Chang as she drifted back to sleep, not worried about Fang Xue at all. Fang Xue, running at full speed towards the river, only realized how fast she was when she reached the riverside. It took me about 10 minutes to run 1 mile, 1.61 kilometers, and I don't feel tired. Truly a wonderful world, Fang Xue thought, taking off her clothes and entering the river to wash. Despite the dark and dry land, the river was crystalline and quite beautiful, contrasting with the surrounding area. Just 30 minutes of cultivation took me to the first level of body training, and I feel an explosive strength within me, as if I had been cultivating for millennia. Where can I go from here? Fang Xue thought dreamily. Really, a lot has changed in a short time. Fang Xue noticed her thoughts and reflected on the recent events as she washed her body. It had all happened so fast, and she didn't have time to think straight about everything. Now, in a moment of solitude, she started to contemplate everything that had happened. 30 minutes later, as Fang Xue put on her freshly washed clothes, she heard a low growl coming from behind her. Turning around, she saw a 1.5-meter-long wolf with white fur, a pair of red eyes staring wildly at Fang Xue. The biggest difference from a normal wolf was the two tails waving majestically behind it. Finally, some action, Fang Xue thought, putting a confident smile on her face and looking forward to her first real fight in this new world and being able to test her newfound strength. First massacre and the strange bloodline, third level of body training, Fang Xue thought, analyzing her enemy. Suddenly, jumping back, Fang Xue watched as the wolf disappeared from its position and made a small crater where it had been before. Observing the wolf's speed and strength, Fang Xue didn't let it intimidate her, but it made her fighting intent soar. Inside Fang Xue's body, her blood was flowing at an abnormal speed, and the faint mystic golden glow within it grew a little brighter. Not knowing what was happening inside her body, Fang Xue punched with all her might and sped towards the wolf. The wolf, startled by the strength and speed of a mere first level of body training, tried to jump back. But its reaction was slow, and Fang Xue's punch managed to hit a part of its body. Feeling the excruciating pain in its body, the two-tailed wolf first howled low in pain, then growled in rage. Overcome with rage, the wolf leapt recklessly and off guard at Fang Xue, trying to tear her in half with its claws. Eyes gleaming, Fang Xue used a strange footwork and disappeared from the wolf's sight. Creating a larger crater than before where Fang Xue disappeared, the wolf felt an intense sense of danger coming from its right. But when it realized it was too late, it was thrown a few meters away with a hole in its ribs on the right side. Seeing the wolf lying down, blood oozing from the hole she had just opened, Fang Xue looked at her still clenched fist and saw some blood oozing from it, but it wasn't her blood. I thought my memories of Earth would hinder the fight, but it wasn't that bad, Fang Xue thought, thinking that she might hesitate to kill another living being. Besides, this footwork is quite exhausting to use. I need more practice, Fang Xue thought, wiping the small bead of sweat from her forehead and approaching the wolf. When Fang Xue stood in front of the wolf, she realized that it was still alive, even if its life was hanging by a thread. However, before Fang Xue could think more about the wolf, it let out a loud howl, even though it looked weak. Shit, it called for reinforcements, Fang Xue thought, as she swiftly killed the wolf by stomping hard on its skull. Preparing to run, Fang Xue heard howling and growling noises very close by. It's impossible to run. The only option now is to fight, Fang Xue thought coldly as she prepared to face an unknown number of wolves. She wasn't suicidal. She knew that if there was something that could kill her, Li Chang would come to her rescue. A few seconds later, mentally prepared for the arduous battle ahead, Fang Xue saw 11 pairs of red eyes surrounding her, staring at her with murderous intent. One wolf was at the third level of body training, 5 wolves were at the second level of body training, and the rest were at the first level of body training. Even managing to kill a third-level wolf, it will be difficult to fight so many at once. I have to kill the weakest ones first and pay attention to the special abilities of these damn wolves. Fang Xue quickly came up with a plan and was ready to put it into action. Meanwhile, the faint golden glow in Fang Xue's blood continued to grow brighter. The stronger her emotions, the stronger the glow. Quickly running towards the nearest Tier 1 wolf, Fang Xue kicked the wolf towards its companions, separating them. 2 1st level wolves, who reacted too late and were pushed back a few meters by their pack member's body hitting them. That second level wolf was stunned by the suddenness of the events. It woke up, only to be met with a mighty blow to its pack leader's skull. The pack leader, at the beginning of the fight, tried to sneak up and catch Fang Xue off guard. But Fang Xue was already expecting this move and used it to kill its own companion. With anger bubbling up inside him, the leader heard a noise and, looking at the source, his anger increased tenfold. Fang Xue was currently using a second-tier wolf as a club, crushing the other wolves. She had finished killing all the first-level wolves, including the ones she threw away. Now, with only 5 wolves remaining, including the one on the verge of death in her hand, the fight had become easier. But that didn't lessen Fang Xue's guard. On the contrary, it increased it. She even looked relaxed, though quite tired from using her footwork so many times. My footwork is improving, but it still puts a lot of stress on my body, Fang Xue thought, as she flung the poor wolf in her hand towards the nearest wolf. Wolves, by nature, are quite cunning, so when that 2ND level wolf saw its mate coming towards it, it simply slashed with its claws, hoping to slice that woman. Fang Xue, who was using the wolf as cover, was taken aback by the wolf's vicious response and eagerly jumped back. But the wolf's claw still managed to reach her shoulder. Fang Xue, now holding her shoulder with an open wound and blood running down her arm, sensed extreme danger coming from behind. Trying to jump away, but still being a step behind, a new wound opened on her back. Repositioning herself, Fang Xue coldly stared at the 4 wolves in front of her as she felt a burning sensation in both of her wounds. This feeling was unpleasant, but Fang Xue knew that it was somehow a good thing. The blood-gold glow in hers dimmed a bit, but a new strength coursed through Fang Xue's entire body, and her wounds began to heal slowly, but visibly. With her newfound strength, Fang Xue gained confidence again. I don't know exactly what happened. I'll have to ask Li Chang. But for now, let's deal with those damn wolves, Fang Xue thought as her killing intent towards the wolves increased. Star power and Asura bloodline. The wolves noticed the strange change in Fang Xue, making them more wary. The pack leader growled, as if ordering the other wolves to attack, and then backed away a little. Receiving their leader's order, the other 4 second-rank wolves rushed towards Fang Xue, each attacking from one side. But Fang Xue was one step faster. She kicked the wolf that was in front of her in the belly, throwing it upwards. It fell lifeless a second later, with a hole at the place of the kick. The other 3 wolves were slightly stunned, and that was more than enough for Fang Xue. Using the same footwork she had been using since the beginning of the combat, she appeared beside one of the wolves and grabbed both of its tails, ready to once again use a living being as a club. It all happened so fast. Only 2 seconds had passed, from kicking one wolf in the belly to grabbing the other's tail. This startled the other 3 wolves, but they still continued charging towards Fang Xue. Grasping both of the wolf's tails, Fang Xue smashed with all her might towards the other wolf, causing the 2 wolves to turn into a pulp of meat. But this opened up an opportunity for the last 2 wolves, and taking advantage of it, they managed to inflict some cuts on Fang Xue, although not as deep as the previous wounds. Fang Xue now stood a few meters away from the 2 wolves, who were glaring at her fiercely, as if they wanted to eat her alive. Smirking, Fang Xue once again used that strange footwork she named Ghostly Steps. Only this time, Fang Xue's speed was at least twice as fast as before. Fang Xue hadn't used the full capacity of her footwork. Before the last 2 wolves, besides the leader, could understand anything, Fang Xue grabbed their skulls, one in each hand, and gave them a death grip. Blood and brain matter splattered everywhere. Now all that's missing is the leader, Fang Xue thought. Even though she seemed fully focused on the earlier small fight, she was paying attention to the leader in the distance. Glancing at the pack leader, whose already red eyes were even more bloodthirsty, Fang Xue saw that the 2 tails behind him were pointed upwards and a mass of bluish energy was accumulating there. So that's the special ability of these wolves, being able to gather chi around and throw it, even though they're at the body training level, Fang Xue thought coldly, not being startled by the scene in front of her. Fang Xue already had a plan. She knew that even if she tried to deal with the leader first, the other wolves would stop her, and once she got too close to the leader, she would be at a disadvantage. Closing her eyes and taking a deep breath, Fang Xue began to relax her muscles and breathe in a calm and orderly manner. When the pack leader saw Fang Xue close her eyes, he thought that this was his opportunity. Throwing that mass of energy, which was approximately 3 meters long, towards Fang Xue, the leader of the wolves already considered that woman to be dead. Opening her eyes abruptly, a faint light flashed from Fang Xue's muscles as she used the phantom steps to their full capacity. Fading like a true ghost and reappearing in front of the leader, who was 10 meters away, Fang Xue threw a punch twice as powerful as she was capable of until now towards the leader's head. The poor leader, thinking he could avenge his comrades, was stunned by Fang Xue's disappearance, but before he could even wake up from his shock, his head exploded like a watermelon. Falling to her knees and breathing heavily, Fang Xue began to feel pain all over her body. This chaotic star formula skill is truly magnificent, too bad I can currently only use it for a single moment before receiving a rebound. The chaotic star formula was truly unrivaled. In addition to a cultivation method, it possessed a special skill that allows Fang Xue to use a small part of the star power gained after each cultivation session. The power of the stars comes from the light pressing down on Fang Xue's body. In addition to strengthening the body and expelling impurities, a small part of this light remains inside Fang Xue's body, allowing her to utilize this skill. In the future, she will be able to create a small star inside her body and store even greater amounts of star power. That strange golden light in my blood is helping me heal my body and lessening the rebound, in addition to strengthening it even more, I think. One more cultivation session will be able to take me to the second level, Fang Xue thought, observing the changes inside her body. Quite a coincidence, you who hate the gods, possess the Asura bloodline, Li Chang's voice rang in Fang Xue's ears. Looking to her right, Fang Xue saw the little rabbit looking at her with slight surprise in her eyes. Asura bloodline? Could you please explain a little more to me? Asked Fang Xue, now lying on the ground, still in pain all over her body. The Asuras are a race that should have been extinct a long time ago. They are basically enemies of the gods, possessing a strong body and fighting skills that defy logic. They fought against the gods. Once the gods cursed their race, causing them to be sometimes unable to control their bloodlust. But in the end, they perished and were virtually extinct. That's why in many stories, the Asuras are seen as bloodthirsty and battle-crazed. It was the curse placed on their bloodlines, said Li Chang, explaining the origin of an ancient race. Maybe it's something that came from my father, he was a demon after all, said Fang Xue, trying to remember something that linked the Asuras to her father. I agree, but Asuras and demons are two different races. However, it is possible that your father had a part of the Asura lineage, and you inherited it from him, pondered Li Chang, trying to find some explanation behind Fang Xue's bloodline. But my father never said anything about it. He was powerful and had higher than average combat prowess, but it wasn't anything that defied logic. Also, he was never dominated by bloodlust, Fang Xue commented, recalling all the memories related to her father. He may have simply not activated the bloodline, and it acted passively within him, giving him combat prowess higher than average. Perhaps your soul fusion or your hatred of the gods activated the dormant bloodline within you, Li Chang said confidently, sure of her words. Well, putting aside where my lineage came from, do you think I'm going to lose myself in my bloodlust at some point? Fang Xue expressed her worries. After all, she didn't want to get lost in her bloodlust and start killing indiscriminately. A little about the past and looking to the future. Maybe yes, maybe not. I don't know much about the Asuras either. After all, they were an extinct race before the Great Calamity, Li Chang replied carelessly, her voice tinged with uncertainty. What is this Great Calamity you mentioned? Fang Xue asked, her face filled with doubt and curiosity. Li Chang realized her mistake and thought, well, shit, I said something I shouldn't have. She contemplated whether to tell Fang Xue the truth or keep it hidden. What we now call gods were formerly known as immortals. My title of ancient goddess means nothing more than the fact that I am from a time right after the Great Calamity. Li Chang decided to reveal the entire truth, knowing that Fang Xue would eventually come across this knowledge. Although I claim to be supreme in this universe, it is only in the light. There may be people who survived the Great Calamity, hiding in the darkness, Li Chang replied, her voice tinged with embarrassment. I understand to some extent, but you still haven't explained what this Great Calamity was, Fang Xue persisted, refusing to be diverted from the real issue. While I'm not certain about the cause of this calamity, I do know that the cultivation system before it was different, civilizations were more advanced, and there were numerous powerful cultivators, Li Chang continued, revealing a story known by few. Lying down, Fang Xue began to reflect on the secret she had just discovered, feeling completely insignificant in the face of such a monumental revelation. As these thoughts consumed her mind, her blood gold glow hummed, and her thoughts turned into determination. Forget the past. Everyone who died was weak, and I refuse to be weak. I will stand above them all. Fang Xue's dominant thought formed a vague shape of a 9-petaled lotus with a faint red halo on her glabella. However, it vanished after a few seconds, as if it had never appeared. Asura inheritance. Those were the words that echoed in Fang Xue's mind, accompanied by a strange sensation, as if something was calling out to her. Observing all of this, Li Chang began to experience a terrible headache at the sight of the lotus. It was as if her lost memories were attempting to resurface, but the pain subsided, and the feeling vanished. When Fang Xue and Li Chang snapped out of their trance, they looked at each other, and Fang Xue spoke. Let's forget the past and look to the future. We have many stories and questions, but no conclusions or answers. Tell me everything you know about the Asuras so that we can be prepared for any problems related to my lineage. Fang Xue's voice was as calm as an ancient lake, devoid of worry about the events of the past. I am truly inferior to her in that regard, Li Chang thought quickly, acknowledging Fang Xue's ability to focus on the future without being burdened by the past. Alright. The Asuras were a race that was created by someone, unlike the others. However, heaven and earth, or the celestial Tao as it was called in the past, did not recognize their existence and sought to eliminate them. The Asuras were protected by their creator, so the Tao couldn't directly act against them. In response, the celestial Tao cursed the Asuras, and later, when many powerhouses became enraged by the bloodthirsty acts of the Asuras, they decided to exterminate the race. That's all I know about them, Li Chang concluded, sharing everything she had learned about the Asuras through her inheritance. I feel something calling me within this world. It might provide us with hints and clues about what happened. But for now, we must leave this accursed place and make contact with civilization. After all, I still have revenge to fulfill, Fang Xue said, rising to her feet and heading towards the river for another bath. Li Chang followed, still lost in thought, but quickly snapped out of it upon seeing Fang Xue undress in front of her. Blushing, Li Chang turned away, attempting to distract herself from her naughty thoughts. Now clean again, but with her clothes torn in places, Fang Xue decided to leave the area and find a nearby town. Well, if we walk 100 miles in that direction, we might come across a small town to stay in, Fang Xue said, pointing south with her hand while holding Li Chang with her other arm. Li Chang, still feeling slightly embarrassed and shy, made a sound of agreement and closed her eyes, appearing as though she was going to sleep. Not dwelling on Li Chang's behavior, Fang Xue started walking at a steady pace towards the nearest town. After walking for about 30 miles, Fang Xue decided to take a break and engage in cultivation. Along the way, she fought a few other demonic beasts, but none were as tough as the previous pack. Her phantom steps had improved, allowing her to execute them almost flawlessly. However, since it wasn't a true martial art or martial skill, Fang Xue didn't put much effort into perfecting it. Sitting in the lotus position once again, Fang Xue performed the chaotic star formula. She managed to make the light appear more quickly and endure the pressure for a few more seconds. Covered in sweat and impurities, Fang Xue collapsed to the ground after enduring the pressure for 30 seconds. I have reached the second level, Fang Xue thought, before closing her eyes and drifting into a dreamlike state. After waking up and cleaning herself, Fang Xue repeated this process several times. Walk 30 miles, encounter and defeat some demon beasts, and then cultivate. Finally, Fang Xue reached the third level of body training with only 10 miles remaining before she could reach the nearest city, having already left the territory of hell after walking 60 miles. Opening her eyes, Fang Xue looked at her body, now covered in sweat but with fewer impurities. I was able to reach the third level of body training without pushing my body to its limit, Fang Xue thought, getting up and walking her slightly sore body to a nearby lake to clean herself. As she undressed and stepped into the lake, Fang Xue gazed at her reflection in the water, feeling a slight unease about the future. I wonder how things will go. Also, why has Li Chang been acting so strangely lately? While cleaning herself and contemplating the future and Li Chang, Fang Xue heard a noise. She raised her guard, scanning the source of the sound, and discovered a girl lying in a pool of blood at the edge of the lake. Killing the first human in White Lotus sect. Realizing that the girl was unconscious, Fang Xue quickly put on her clothes and approached the girl. As she looked at the girl's face, she estimated her age to be around 16 years old. Despite her pale complexion, it didn't diminish her beauty. On the contrary, it gave her the appearance of a delicate flower. The girl wore luxurious and high-quality clothes, indicating her high social status. However, what caught Fang Xue's attention was not the girl's beauty or her elegant attire. It was an ordinary-looking silver ring on her finger, a space ring. These rings contained a small independent space within them, and their size varied depending on their quality. While they weren't particularly expensive, only individuals at the 4th level of body training and above could use them. Fang Xue briefly entertained the thought of killing her to acquire the space ring, but she quickly dismissed the idea. Instead, she considered the potential benefits of saving her. Judging from her clothing and background, the girl's origins were likely not simple, and forming a friendship with someone like her could prove advantageous, concluded Fang Xue. Recognizing her own lack of knowledge and the limitations of her companion, Li Chang, in matters of the mortal world, Fang Xue reached out. "Why did you call me?" Li Chang asked, attempting to sound calm, although a hint of shyness lingered in her mind. It had been a few days since Fang Xue started calling her Leer, which somehow made someone like Li Chang, who had killed millions, feel bashful. Fang Xue explained her intention. "Help me save this girl. She might be useful to us." She then bent down to examine the wound on the girl's abdomen, which was still bleeding slightly. Understanding Fang Xue's thoughts, Li Chang approached the injured girl and pointed out specific acupuncture points. "Apply a little pressure to these spots, and her bleeding will stop. On my way here, I found some herbs that will aid in healing her wounds." "I'll go fetch them," said Li Chang as she departed to retrieve the herbs. Following Li Chang's instructions, Fang Xue applied pressure to the indicated points, successfully halting the girl's bleeding. Assessing the freshness of the wound, Fang Xue deduced that there might be people nearby who caused it. She carefully carried the girl's body and placed it under a nearby tree, providing shade and protection. Having settled the injured girl, Fang Xue decided to investigate the nearby forest, presuming it to be the direction the girl had come from. Climbing a tall tree approximately 15 meters high, Fang Xue controlled her breathing and attempted to conceal her presence. She hoped to locate the possible individuals responsible for the girl's injuries. After waiting for approximately 10 minutes, Fang Xue heard footsteps approaching from beneath the tree she was perched on. Peering down, she spotted 2 men dressed in black with masked faces. One of them wielded a sword stained with dried blood, while the other appeared to be unarmed. Fang Xue quickly assessed their cultivation levels, deducing that one was at the 5th level of body training and the other at the 4th level. Although she was confident in her ability to defeat them, Fang Xue recognized her lack of combat experience against human opponents. She regarded this encounter as an opportunity for valuable training, focusing on combat proficiency against beings with greater intelligence. While Fang Xue contemplated her strategy for dealing with the assassins, the 2 men engaged in conversation. "Damn it! Where's that woman? She couldn't have gone far with the wound I inflicted," expressed the slimmer man, who held a sword and was at the 4th level of body training. "Don't worry, she's only at the 4th level of body training. Even though she was the little princess of the Hu clan, she was nothing more than talentless." "Trash," responded the other assassin, a robust man with a large build, who possessed cultivation at the 5th level of body training. "I know. It's precisely because she's worthless that the 2 of us were dispatched to deal with her," confirmed the slimmer man. While the 2 assassins conversed and searched for Hu Wen, the true name of the injured girl, the robust cultivator instinctively raised his arm to protect himself. The slimmer assassin, Chang Xuechen, swiftly stepped back and witnessed his comrade, Sha Shan, partially sinking into the ground as cracks resembling a spider's web formed around his feet. Observing the source of the attack, Chang Xuechen saw a delicate, slender fist strike Sha Shan's tanned arm. Fang Xue executed the attack, her white fist appearing fragile, yet powerful. Seeing his attack blocked, Fang Xue somersaulted backward, creating distance between herself and the assassins. Ang Xue inspected her trembling fist and remarked, "His body is quite robust." Sha Shan retreated to stand beside his companion and assessed the situation. He sought out the assailant who had broken his comrade's arm with a surprise attack. To his surprise, he discovered an 18-year-old beauty standing at 181 centimeters tall, with black hair featuring white streaks and gray eyes. Despite her slender and delicate appearance, Sha Shan knew firsthand the strength behind her attack. Astonishingly, she was only at the 3rd level of body training. "Who are you?" Sha Shan inquired, considering the possibility that someone of her caliber belonged to a sect or power he couldn't afford to provoke. Fang Xue remained silent, her gaze coldly fixed on the 2 assassins before her. "I am your death," Fang Xue declared after a brief pause, and in an instant, she vanished, reappearing in front of Chang Xuechen. Chang Xuechen attempted to retaliate, but he was a moment too late. As he swung his sword, he felt a sharp pain in his chest. Looking down, he witnessed a slender arm piercing through his ribcage, holding his heart on the other side. With a firm grip on his still pulsating heart, Fang Xue casually disposed of the lifeless body, not forgetting to claim his sword. Sha Shan, focused on strength rather than speed, soon realized the dire situation. His companion had already perished before his eyes. Consumed by rage, Sha Shan contemplated launching an attack, but he recognized the recklessness of such an action. Instead, he chose to retreat. "Are you from the White Lotus sect?" Sha Shan suddenly inquired, his eyes burning with fury and a hint of fear as he mentioned the White Lotus sect. Next goal and who when. The White Lotus sect is a super-sect of continental size, distinguishing itself from other sects uniquely. It only accepts female disciples. Led by Xu Zifeng, a renowned cultivator, the sect was founded by her after she achieved fame in a world dominated by men. With branches spread across the continent, even in remote places like Cloud City, which is the closest city to the infamous Hell and Fang Xue's next destination. Sha Shan suspected that Fang Xue might be from the White Lotus sect, as encountering such a formidable cultivator was a rare occurrence. White Lotus sect? I remember a few things about them, but my intuition tells me I'll find something I need there, thought Fang Xue, determining her next goal. Interpreting Fang Xue's silence as confirmation, Sha Shan decided to swiftly eliminate her. As a mere subordinate of low rank from a medium-sized family, his support wouldn't offend a powerhouse like the White Lotus sect. Sha Shan kicked the ground towards Fang Xue, who swiftly dodged to the side. However, Sha Shan had anticipated this and threw a powerful punch at Fang Xue. Remaining calm, Fang Xue defended herself with the sword she had recently acquired. However, lacking balance and proficiency in swordsmanship, she was forced to retreat a few meters. Trying to steady herself on the ground, Fang Xue found no respite as Sha Shan relentlessly continued his assault. Aware that constant pressure was essential for victory, he recognized his broken arm as a significant disadvantage. Knowing that Fang Xue lacked combat experience despite her strength, Sha Shan maintained his assault, while Fang Xue, blocking the repeated punches, remained calm and expressionless. By adjusting my grip this way, it's more effective. I can block this attack with less force. If I do this. These were Fang Xue's thoughts as she used Sha Shan as a training dummy. Time passed, and after 15 minutes, Sha Shan began to feel tired. Despite maintaining continuous pressure on Fang Xue, he had been unable to inflict any real damage. Observing Fang Xue's emotionless face with only a few drops of sweat on her forehead, Sha Shan started to worry. Should I run away? He pondered. However, his thoughts were interrupted as Fang Xue's muscles emitted a faint light. Without time to contemplate, Sha Shan used his only working arm to defend against the danger he sensed coming from his left. But even that wasn't enough to stop Fang Xue's powerful and swift sword slash, which severed Sha Shan's arms and head in a single strike. Fang Xue quickly jumped back, avoiding the spray of blood from Sha Shan's headless neck. Having used the chaotic star formula skill again, albeit not at full capacity, Fang Xue only felt slight soreness in her upper muscles instead of a significant backlash. I need to find a way to fight without getting too dirty, Fang Xue sighed, unfazed by the scene before her, despite it being the second time she had killed a human. Has Lier managed to heal that girl yet? Pondered Fang Xue, ignoring the pain in her muscles as she quickly scanned the assassins' bodies for anything useful. Come here quickly, Li Chang's voice sounded in Fang Xue's mind. Swiftly tucking an old-looking book and a porcelain flask into her clothing, Fang Xue hurried back to Li Chang. Going back in time a bit, Li Chang was collecting medicinal herbs she had spotted along the way. I wonder if little Xue will be okay. It's her first time fighting and killing another human, even if she's only half of one, thought Li Chang, feeling a bit concerned as she returned to where Hu Wen lay. Using her tiny paws to apply the herbs to Hu Wen's abdominal wound, Li Chang took a closer look at the girl's features and wondered, somewhat irrationally, could it be that little Xue wants to save her just because she's beautiful? Her thoughts turned to her own human appearance, and she felt a sense of pride. HMPF. Just wait until I return to my human form. This girl won't even compare to 1/1000th of my beauty, she thought, somewhat narcissistic. Lost in thought and focused on applying the herbs, Li Chang didn't notice that Hu Wen's eyelids were fluttering slightly. Opening her eyes slightly and feeling an itch in her abdomen, Hu Wen realized she was lying down and looked down at the source of the sensation. Did I die? She wondered, observing a rabbit applying herbs to its own abdomen and moving its mouth as if mumbling something. Closing her eyes again, partly to recall what had happened to her and partly to dismiss the hallucination, Hu Wen began to reflect on recent events. She, Hu Wen, was the little princess of the Hu clan, a medium-sized clan. However, despite her privileged upbringing and the love of her parents, she possessed no talent for cultivation. This fact had always weighed heavily on her heart, as in a world where the strong ruled over the weak, she felt incapable of repaying her family's love. The Le family, a formidable enemy of the Hu clan, had attempted to capture her as a hostage and bargaining chip against her family. Fearing her fate, Hu Wen had managed to escape her captors through sheer luck. However, in her desperate flight, she encountered two body training practitioners who injured her when she resisted. Just as she believed there was no way to escape her fate, a light had emitted from the necklace her father had given her on her 10th birthday, repelling the cultivator's attacks. Finding a momentary gap, she had run with all her strength into the heart of the forest, eventually losing her pursuers. Weakened by her injuries and loss of blood, she couldn't endure any longer and fainted. But before losing consciousness, she recalled seeing the back of a figure, seemingly a wet woman with beautiful black hair streaked with white, which only enhanced her allure. Li Chang's joke and Maiden Yin's physique. Remembering that scene, Hu Wen felt her face heat up. What am I thinking? Hu Wen scolded herself for having such perverted thoughts. You finally woke up. A cold, indifferent voice rang in Hu Wen's ears, snapping her out of her thoughts. Looking at the source of the voice, she saw a pair of small, emotionless purple eyes staring at her. Feeling her heart grow cold, Hu Wen tried to remain calm on the outside while she was scared to death on the inside. What are you going to do with me? Hu Wen asked, staring at the little rabbit. Li Chang smirked, and her expression turned mischievous, but only for a moment, not showing anything on her bunny face. He. I prefer the flesh of young and pure girls. Li Chang laughed like a pervert and licked her lips, looking as if she had found delicious food. Now unable to keep her expression calm, Hu Wen started to look at Li Chang in horror. Mom, Dad, your daughter will become food for a perverted rabbit, thought Hu Wen pitifully. If Li Chang was still in her domain, hell, she could read Hu Wen's thoughts and would definitely be enraged to hear that she was called a pervert. Seeing tears forming in the corners of Hu Wen's eyes, Li Chang gave up on continuing the game. I'm just kidding, I won't eat you, Li Chang said nonchalantly. But you're even seasoning my pure young body to eat later, Hu Wen said, looking at the herbs placed on her wound. You damn brat, I have no interest in your body. I'm just helping out at someone's request, Li Chang said coldly before turning around with her cheeks puffing out in anger. If little Xue didn't need her, I would kill her right now, Li Chang thought, not liking Hu Wen at all. Come here quickly. Li Chang called out to Fang Xue to come over as soon as possible before this girl pissed her off even more and she accidentally blasted Hu Wen into a pulp. Hu Wen was a little stunned by the little rabbit's reaction, but she was soon happy that she managed to survive. Is the person who saved me the one I saw before? Hu Wen thought. Her face flushed again, remembering that intense scene. While Hu Wen was lost in thought and Li Chang in her rage, 10 minutes passed, and a person walked out of the forest. Noticing movement in the forest, Hu Wen thought that it might be the people chasing her. But looking closely at the person who emerged, Hu Wen saw the most beautiful person she had ever seen in her life. How beautiful, I am completely inferior to her, Hu Wen thought, looking at the 18-year-old woman who stood 181 centimeters tall, had long black hair, with some white streaks, and gray eyes. Li Chang also noticed Fang Xue's arrival, and she couldn't help but notice the way Hu Wen was looking at Fang Xue, causing alarm bells to ring in her head. Shit, I really need to regain my human form as soon as possible, Li Chang thought and quickly jumped towards Fang Xue. Fang Xue, having just returned, didn't notice the look Hu Wen cast towards her and was met with Li Chang leaping into her arms. Quickly taking the small rabbit into her arms, Fang Xue narrowed her eyes in satisfaction. Ah, this softness is heavenly, thought Fang Xue, patting Li Chang's head. Hu Wen stopped admiring the beauty of this unknown person and went back to worrying about why this person had saved her. Dad said people are cruel and would never save anyone for free. Hu Wen began to remember her father's teachings. Seeing this woman with a small rabbit in her arms walking towards her, the gears in Hu Wen's head began to rotate rapidly. What do you intend to do with me? Hu Wen asked the woman when she was 2 meters away from her. That would be easy if you help me get back to my Hu family in Cloud City. My father could reward you generously, Hu Wen said, somewhat excited about the idea of returning home. But that excitement soon turned to sadness as she remembered the people who were chasing her. I don't want to hide it from you, but I'm currently being chased, so it would be dangerous to go back to Cloud City with me, Hu Wen said, not wanting to endanger the woman who had saved her. How many, and what is the strength of these pursuers? I already got rid of 2, one at the 4th level of body training and the other at the 5th level, Fang Xue replied, a little softer. After all, this little girl had tried to warn her of the danger. A hint of surprise flashed through Hu Wen's eyes when she heard Fang Xue's words. She's only at the 3rd level of body training, but she can kill someone at the 5th level with ease. She's definitely a genius. Hu Wen looked at Fang Xue and saw no injuries or anything like that, indicating that she had easily killed someone 2 levels above her. She is special. Fang Xue suddenly heard Li Chang's voice in her mind. Special? What do you mean? Fang Xue asked, looking at Hu Wen but finding nothing special about her. She has the physique of the Yin Maiden, Li Chang replied after taking a closer look at Hu Wen. Fang Xue knew a little about the Yin Maiden's physique, but now was not the time to think about it. By the way, my name is Fang Xue. What's yours? Said Fang Xue, wanting to make friends with this girl who could be a powerful ally in the future. A little startled by Fang Xue's direct question, Hu Wen was soon overjoyed at the idea of getting close to a genius and beauty like Fang Xue. My name is Hu Wen. Nice to meet you. Destined lovers and conversation with Li Chang. Hu Wen, what a beautiful name. Fang Xue praised Hu Wen's name in order to get even closer to the girl. Li Chang, who was in Fang Xue's arms, stiffened for a moment. Ha! That karmic oath is actually a bit troublesome, thought Li Chang. The karmic oath is a very special and unique oath, only possible between destined lovers, which connects the karma between 2 people, making it possible for them to meet in other lives. Destined lovers are individuals with intertwined fates, often lovers but also possible between sworn brothers. Therefore, this oath has nothing to do with the feelings between the 2 parties. However, since Li Chang had always been alone and yearned for affection, a small anticipation of being something more with Fang Xue couldn't help but rise in her heart when she found out that the oath between them was a karmic oath. I don't know if finding my destined mate now is a good thing or not, Li Chang continued to ponder on this matter. After all, this oath is beneficial, allowing you to communicate with your other half from any distance. Dual cultivation becomes more efficient, which is why many who have this connection become true lovers. Being able to directly share experiences and insights with your other half is the main reason that makes this oath so unique. But it's not all about benefits. A connection and oath like this only happen about once every 10,000 years. Because it carries with it an omen. The world and fate will be thrown into turmoil when a pair of destined lovers are born and meet. The world would flourish, geniuses would be born like never before, and treasures and ancient inheritances would appear around every corner. That's a good thing, but it also means that an imminent danger would eventually appear, necessitating the overall strengthening of the world in a short amount of time. And those destined lovers would be at the center of this turmoil. The heavens would support them, their cultivation would advance at an astonishing speed, and their combat prowess would surpass that of other geniuses. Of course, these destined lovers could also face the risk of death in the midst of turmoil, but as the old saying goes, the greater the danger, the greater the reward. And that couldn't be truer. Li Chang, in her prime, witnessed some destined lovers increase their cultivation at a surreal speed and possess combat prowess that defied logic. However, 99 of those destined lovers met terrible, sad endings. As Li Chang had already explained to Fang Xue, if one of them died, the other would also die, and it would be a death without reincarnation, a true death. That's what makes the oath between them even more special. It was caused by the fact that they were both people without fate, yet their fates became intertwined, something that shouldn't have been possible, but it happened. They are now at the center of the changes that will occur in the world, but heaven will also be against them, as it does not tolerate the existence of people without destiny, people it cannot control. Therefore, Li Chang and Fang Xue will only be able to rely on themselves and no one else to face the turmoil of fate. Sigh, how troublesome. Li Chang sighed once more, contemplating their bleak futures. Fang Xue noticed Li Chang sighing twice, and her mood became a bit confused. It puzzled her, but she would deal with it later. Now she needed to befriend Hu Wen. Hu Wen, who had just had her name praised by a beauty like Fang Xue, felt shy but simultaneously happy to be able to approach Fang Xue.
Thank you. But in response to your previous question, there are a total of 10 people chasing me. Now that you've killed 2, 8 of them are at the body training level, ranging from the 5th level to the 9th level, and the last 2 are in the Qi sense realm, Hu Wen replied, trying to make Fang Xue aware of the strength level of those who were chasing her.
When Hu Wen finished speaking, Fang Xue's eyes flashed with excitement. After all, she didn't see these people as a threat but as a form of training. Okay, I understand. When you're a little better and healed, we can walk the remaining 10 miles to Cloud City. Fang Xue responded calmly, showing her confidence in taking Hu Wen back home. Hu Wen was touched by Fang Xue's willingness to help her, even if it was for some benefit. After all, no matter what treasure Fang Xue attracted, it would be useless if she didn't have the ability to survive until she obtained it. At some point during the conversation, Hu Wen sat down and leaned against the tree she was under. She calculated that she would be able to walk to Cloud City in another 2 hours. I think another 2 hours is enough for me to recover, Hu Wen said. Okay, while you recover, I'll go over there and check something out, Fang Xue replied, moving 15 meters away to inspect what she had taken from those assassins. Sitting under a large tree, Fang Xue placed Li Chang beside her. But before she took out the old-looking book and the flask, she looked deeply into Li Chang's eyes. So, what's going on with you? Fang Xue asked in a serious tone, staring into the little rabbit's purple eyes, wanting to know everything that was going through Li Chang's mind. It's a long story, Li Chang replied, avoiding Fang Xue's intense gaze. Don't worry, we have 2 hours before we leave. That's enough time for you to tell me, Fang Xue replied in a firm tone, determined to know what was going on. Sigh. Okay, I'll tell you. It's nothing too complex. It's just that since you started cultivating the chaotic star formula, if those gods find out, they'll try to eliminate you as soon as possible because I also cultivated this formula, Li Chang said. Furthermore, it wasn't a lie, but it wasn't her true concern. Is that all? Don't those damn gods want to kill me anymore? Fang Xue asked doubtfully. She didn't fully believe Li Chang, but it didn't seem like she was lying. Yes, but they think you're dead after throwing you into hell, so the problem isn't you. It's that when they realize you cultivate the chaotic star formula, they'll think you're my successor, and they'll want to eliminate you quickly, Li Chang replied with conviction, making it seem like this was her genuine concern. I've said it before, I don't care about the gods. If they come for me, they will die, Fang Xue replied, knowing that the gods could not directly interfere in the mortal world. So, what they would send would just be some strong mortals, good training dummies for Fang Xue. Chaotic Star's formula, unique skill and ancient inheritance? Li Chang sighed in relief when she saw Fang Xue believe her story. Even with thousands of years of experience, it was difficult to deceive her, Li Chang thought. But what she doesn't know is that she was the one who was deceived. Fang Xue realized that this was not Li Chang's true concern, but she would not force Li Chang to tell her the truth, at least not now. Okay, with that matter taken care of, let's see my spoils of war, Fang Xue said, turning her attention to the 2 items she took out of her clothes. An old-looking book and a china bottle containing a single pill. Li Chang's attention went straight to the pill as soon as Fang Xue took out the china bottle. Realizing this, Fang Xue wondered if Li Chang knew what this pill was. Not bad, a poison like that can help you level up after you consume it, Li Chang briefly commented, but she was soon met with a slap on her little rabbit head. Ouch! Why did you hit me? Li Chang cried out pitifully. I ask. Do you want to kill me? Fang Xue asked with a slight tinge of anger in her voice. Sorry, I forgot to tell you about something special about the chaotic star formulate can refine a pill with 100 efficiency, no matter how many times you consume it. Li Chang replied with guilt in her voice, realizing it was her fault for not bringing this up. Fang Xue was really amazed now. She knew from her memories that no matter how pure a pill is, the body cannot refine 100 of it. At most, it can refine 98, with only a few special pills being able to achieve 100 refinement. Also, each time you consume a pill, the subsequent effects are weaker. But with certain pills, such as the QI pill, this doesn't happen. Okay, I understand this is pretty awesome, but what does that have to do with me ingesting poison? Fang Xue asked, still confused. The starlight you receive during each cultivation session can suppress the poison, and the poison would be able to temper your body internally much more efficiently, Li Chang replied, with a bit of hurt in her voice for being hit for free, even though she realized it was also her fault. The chaotic star formula is truly a peerless body technique. Unlike ordinary body training techniques that only train the skin, muscles, and bones, the chaotic star formula also trains the nerves, blood, and internal organs, though at a lower intensity. It is better than any other type of training technique. However, in conjunction with a poison, a person would be able to temper their internal organs, nerves, blood, and even the dantian core. A robust dantian core can hold more qi and of higher quality. This is unique in the entire universe, as the dantian core is a very fragile organ and difficult to temper. Any error can lead to death. Truly amazing, I hit the jackpot. Now let's get to that book, Fang Xue said, gently picking up the old-looking book, afraid that it would simply turn to dust. On the cover, which was pitch black, there was something written in blood red, giving off a frightening aura. Slaughter Emperor. I think that might lead us to the Slaughter Emperor's inheritance, said Li Chang after reading the title. Getting no response from Fang Xue, Li Chang looked at her and realized that she was stunned after reading those words. What is it? Li Chang asked, trying to get Fang Xue's attention. Nothing, but I feel a strange connection in those words with my lineage, Fang Xue replied, still a little stunned. Really, could it be that this person was also an Asura? I don't remember any Slaughter Emperors. Just open it up, and then we'll have our answers, Li Chang urged Fang Xue, as the Asuras were an ancient and unique race. Opening the book to the first page, they found only a few words. When the blood moon appears, the earth turns red, and the heavens cry blood, a new age will come. What the hell? Just random words, plus the other pages have nothing, exclaimed Li Chang, hoping it was some Asura's ancient inheritance, but it turned out to be just meaningless words. Well, I felt that title resonated with my lineage, but with those words, no, maybe we might be overthinking it. Anyway, I'll keep it, in case it comes in handy, Fang Xue replied, a little disappointed. Putting that aside, we still have plenty of time, and my future enemies are strong. I will consume this pill now. Any improvement in strength is welcome, Fang Xue said, putting the question of the book to the back of her mind and wanting to improve her strength. Okay. When you're cultivating, try to hide the starlight. We can't fully trust that little girl, Li Chang replied, also putting the matter of the book to the back of her mind. And how do I do it? Fang Xue asked, also agreeing that she couldn't let others see her cultivating. Simple. When you form the connection with the star and start being bathed in its light, think about hiding I, so only you and I can see the starlight. Anyone outside will see you cultivating normally, Li Chang explained. Sitting in the lotus position, Fang Xue took the china bottle and opened it, but she didn't expect the poison to smell so good. Really weird, thought Fang Xue, before she swallowed the pill without hesitation. As the pill began to dissolve in her mouth, a bitter, horrible taste invaded her palate. Shit, this is terrible, complained Fang Xue, before proceeding with her standard cultivation procedure. Fang Xue breathed rhythmically, her muscles began to tense and relax, and a point of light began to glow in the sky. When Fang Xue felt the poison invading her organs, she experienced excruciating pain. It felt like her organs were slowly melting, and worms were crawling through her bloodstream and nerves. But then, that familiar pressure and cold feeling came over her, but only for a moment. Fang Xue felt her skin, muscles, and bones being pressed. That feeling of coldness was fighting the poison, trying to suppress it, causing even more pain for Fang Xue. Her skin secreted incredible amounts of impurities, coming from the deepest parts of her organs and blood. Her muscles tore and healed quickly. Furthermore, her bones cracked, and soon after, they fixed themselves. The poison destroyed her organs, and the starlight repaired them. To fully suppress the poison, I have to endure this damn pain for 30 seconds, Fang Xue thought as blood flowed from her eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. Li Chang, who was beside her, was starting to get really worried about Fang Xue. Did I rush? Li Chang thought, blaming herself for Fang Xue's pain. Hu Wen, who was some distance away, saw this scene and was completely shocked. Hu Wen saw Fang Xue covered in a black, viscous liquid, with blood pouring from her facial orifices, but she couldn't see the starlight falling on Fang Xue. She's cultivating. Why is it so brutal? Hu Wen thought, wanting to walk and help Fang Xue, but she still couldn't move properly. After 30 seconds, when Fang Xue realized that the poison was suppressed and her organs, nerves, and blood were completely fine and much stronger than before, she collapsed to the ground, full of impurities in her body, released by herself, with her head lying in a pool of her own blood. After the cultivation and finding enemies session, opening her eyes and detecting a familiar scent, albeit stronger and tinged with the smell of blood in the air, Fang Xue sighed. Sigh. It's going to be troublesome if I get covered in impurities every time I cultivate, Fang Xue thought as she stood up, eager to get out of the pool of her own blood and impurities. You're finally awake, Li Chang's voice resonated in Fang Xue's ears. Yes, do you know how long I've been sleeping? Fang Xue inquired, curious about the duration of her unconsciousness. She felt no pain or discomfort in her body. In fact, she had never felt better. Some discomfort, but her Asura bloodline had remarkably healed her injuries.
A faint smile appeared on Fang Xue's face upon hearing Li Qiang's expression of admiration.
Although her face was smeared with dried blood and her body was soiled with impurities and dirt from the ground, Fang Xue's smile possessed an enchanting allure that could instigate wars between realms. That was Hu Wen's conclusion after witnessing Fang Xue's smile. Shaking off her daze, Hu Wen approached Fang Xue, relieved to see her in perfect condition after just 4 hours. Miss Fang, once again, thank you for saving me. Please accept this as a token of celebration for reaching the 5th level of body training, Hu Wen said, handing Fang Xue a small light blue crystal and a high-quality change of clothes. The 5th level of body training. That poison pill had propelled Fang Xue to the 5th rank, enhancing her body to rival even those at the 7th rank. With her combat prowess, she could even defeat individuals at the 8th rank. This improvement primarily affected her internal organs, nerves, and blood, which commonly sustained damage during combat, leading to reduced fighting capacity. With steadier nerves, Fang Xue's reaction time and reflexes greatly improved. Her blood underwent refinement, expelling impurities and benefiting her Asura bloodline, which she could now consciously activate to augment her combat abilities. Fang Xue's smile widened further as she observed the changes in her body, accepting Hu Wen's gifts. The small light blue crystal was a cleansing crystal that, when broken, would purify the body of the one who shattered it. It was a commonly used and highly practical crystal, frequently carried by cultivators, particularly females. Breaking the crystal released white smoke that enveloped Fang Xue. After a few seconds, the smoke dispersed, leaving her completely clean. Her snow-white skin, black hair streaked with white, and tall, robust physique stood before the stunned eyes of Hu Wen and Li Chang. Truly a divine beauty, both Hu Wen and Li Chang thought simultaneously. Although Hu Wen was mesmerized by Fang Xue's beauty and power, she hadn't developed any particular feelings toward Heronly admiration. As for Li Chang, her anticipation grew, but it had not yet reached the level of romantic affection. Unaware of the two lost in thought, Fang Xue relished her newfound cleanliness. Clutching the high-quality clothes in her hands, she headed toward the forest to change, as her current attire was considerably damaged. A few minutes later, Fang Xue emerged wearing a simple white traditional hanfu with the hem of the dress and the wide sleeves accented in black. Reference image in the spoiler at the end, she strapped a plain sword without a scabbard, taken from the cultivator she had killed, to her waist. The hanfu fit her perfectly, accentuating her body's flawless proportions, not overly voluptuous or thin, but just right. The flowing sleeves bestowed upon her the appearance of a fairy who had descended from the immortal world to the mortal realm. Her gray eyes emitted an air of mystery, pure, elegant, and mysterious. Upon seeing Fang Xue elegantly dressed, Li Chang felt slightly uneasy due to the attention she would undoubtedly attract. "Don't you have a veil to cover her face?" Li Chang abruptly asked Hu Wen. Startled by Li Chang's cold voice, capable of freezing even demons, Hu Wen snapped out of her thoughts. "Yes, I do," Hu Wen hurriedly replied, handing a veil to Fang Xue. Somewhat perplexed by receiving the veil, Fang Xue wasn't sure what to do. "Put it on. Your appearance might invite unnecessary conflicts," Li Chang said directly, but in a softer tone than she had used with Hu Wen. Fang Xue simply responded with a simple, "Okay," and donned the veil. Although the veil couldn't completely conceal her beauty, at least it would mitigate some of the trouble she might encounter. "Now that we're all ready, let's head to Cloud City," Fang Xue declared, clasping Li Chang in her arms and rushing toward their destination. Hu Wen prepared to run as well. Although she was only at the 4th level of body training, her speed was commendable. Unfortunately, she would never be able to continue her cultivation. As Hu Wen managed to keep up with her, Fang Xue engaged in a telepathic conversation with Li Chang. "She's quite impressive. I'm using the speed of someone at the 5th level of body training, yet she can almost keep pace with me," Fang Xue commented to Li Chang. Yes, even without activating her Yin Maiden physique and being unable to progress further in cultivation, she can still be considered a genius, Li Chang replied nonchalantly, enjoying the ride in Fang Xue's arms. "Right. Speaking of her unique physique, how do we activate it? If we help her, we can gain a powerful ally and the support of the Hu family," Fang Xue inquired, not forgetting about this matter. "It's not difficult. I'll explain how when we reach the Hu family. However, let's first address the issue at hand," Li Chang responded without altering her tone. Fang Xue didn't comprehend Li Chang's final remark, but with only 5 miles left to Cloud City, 6 individuals dressed in black, similar to the one she had recently slain, surrounded her and Hu Wen. Their ranks ranged from the 5th level of body training to the 8th level. "I must be really lucky," Fang Xue's eyes sparkled brightly, especially as she glanced at the finger of the cultivator at the 8th rank. "Spoiler null, collapse, full power and death immortal fairy. We've finally found you, you damn brat," the cultivator at the 8th level of body training said, his voice filled with anger. "TCH, you're all just a bunch of useless trash," Fang Xue suddenly sneered, leaving everyone stunned. After all, this little girl on the 5th level was mocking a group of people stronger than her. "A bloody 5th level woman, do you have a death wish?" a 5th-ranked cultivator sneered back, showing no fear of Fang Xue. Fang Xue furrowed her brows, her gaze filled with pure disgust. Looking around, she noticed that 3 of those cultivators were looking at her with lustful eyes. "I will make you suffer," Fang Xue thought coldly, deciding to make those who looked at her with lust pay for their actions. "Where are the other stalkers?" Fang Xue suddenly asked, wanting to know the whereabouts of the others in case they were close. She would run without hesitation, even if it meant abandoning Hu Wen. If it weren't for the shadow guards who protected Hu Wen, she would have already been captured by the 2 Qi Sense Realm cultivators. "The 2 9th-ranked cultivators aren't necessary to capture that damn brat," one of the 6th-ranked cultivators carelessly remarked, considering Fang Xue already dead. Now that Fang Xue had gathered all the information she needed and understood how Hu Wen managed to escape from cultivators much stronger than her, she no longer needed to hesitate. Fang Xue wondered how Hu Wen escaped from the Qi Sense Realm cultivators, but now she understood that her guards took care of them. Only the 2 cultivators Fang Xue killed managed to escape and chase after Hu Wen. "Now that you've said enough, it's time to die," Fang Xue said coldly, setting Li Chang down and gripping her sword tightly. "Ha ha ha, what a joke." Before that 6th-ranked cultivator, who had responded to Fang Xue and looked at her with lust, could finish his sentence, both of his arms were cut off. "I'll kill you later," he heard a voice whisper in his ear, a voice that would forever haunt his soul. Having quickly incapacitated one of them, Fang Xue proceeded to slice off the arms of 2 5th-ranked cultivators who had also leered at her. The remaining 3 cultivators jumped back, sensing the danger. They witnessed how the woman before them had managed to sever the arms of 3 cultivators within a span of 2 seconds, one of whom had a higher cultivation level than her. "Be careful of her speed," the cultivator at the 8th level warned. The other 2 7th-ranked cultivators nodded heavily, realizing that this girl's speed was on par with theirs. "I'll go for her, you attack from the sides. Let's kill her as soon as possible," said the 8th-ranked cultivator, who had been silent from the beginning, sensing something amiss with Fang Xue. The other two nodded and positioned themselves to attack from the sides, distancing themselves from their leader. Fang Xue observed their actions but didn't stop them or formulate an elaborate plan. She knew she could easily kill the 7th-ranked cultivator individually. If she used her bloodline and star power, she could even take down the leader. But she wanted more training and believed that putting herself in a dangerous situation was the best way to achieve it. So Fang Xue allowed the three of them to attack her simultaneously, knowing it would be a challenge. "You are nothing but dogs," Fang Xue sneered, further inciting fury in her enemies. "You talk too much for someone about to die," Wan Yuan, the 8th-ranked cultivator, said sternly. As soon as his words faded, he rushed toward Fang Xue at full speed. Fang Xue, standing still with her low-level mortal-grade sword in her right hand, swung it with all her might on a diagonal trajectory, while simultaneously thrusting her left fist forward. Her sword collided with another metallic object, generating sparks. Her fist connected with another fist, and she was pushed back a few meters, narrowly evading an attack from her left. The attackers were stunned. Fang Xue had parried a sword attack from a diagonal angle and used the momentum of the frontal attack to dodge the assailant from the left. Regaining her balance, Fang Xue felt a slight sting in her right fist, and her left hand trembled slightly while holding the sword. "I can't exert the same amount of strength with both arms," Fang Xue thought. Realizing that she couldn't push back the cultivator who had attacked her with the sword. She couldn't use her full strength while simultaneously performing two actions. But what Fang Xue didn't know was that her feat was remarkable. Only cultivators with years of fighting experience could achieve such a feat. Li Chang had even tried to pass on some of his fighting experiences to Fang Xue, but she had refused, saying, "These are your experiences, not mine. I will forge my own path." And that's exactly what she was doing, creating a fighting style that suited her. Snapping out of her thoughts, Fang Xue swiftly launched another attack, slashing toward the cultivator who had failed to strike her. All three cultivators were astonished by Fang Xue's actions, but they quickly refocused when they saw her attacking. The 7th-ranked cultivator attempted to retreat upon seeing the attack directed at him, but the sword still sliced through his chest, leaving a diagonal gash. Immediately after the strike, Fang Xue used her sword to parry Wan Yuan's surprise attack. This time, successfully countering him, Fang Xue sidestepped, causing Wan Yuan to stumble forward due to inertia. Fang Xue seized this opportunity and swung her sword with all her strength toward Wan Yuan's head. However, Wan Yuan, relying on his experience, shifted his center of gravity, evading the blow by moving his body to the side and using his arm to block it, injuring himself in the process. Fang Xue sensed danger approaching from behind and quickly dodged, but the blade's edge still grazed her cheek. Lightly touching the wound, Fang Xue remained unfazed. "I think it's best to end this quickly," Fang Xue thought as a vague lotus shape, emitting a red halo, formed on her forehead, and a faint light radiated from her muscles. Asura bloodline and star power. She combined the two, swiftly charging toward Wan Yuan and beheading him. Wan Yuan, still dealing with the pain of losing his arm, saw Fang Xue vanish from her position like a ghost, only to reappear in front of him. He tried to fight back, but the combination of Asura bloodline and star power overwhelmed him, leaving him defenseless in his weakened state, let alone in his prime. As Wan Yuan's head flew from his body, Fang Xue disappeared once again. As his head fell to the ground, two more spurts of blood shot from the decapitated bodies of the other two cultivators. A few meters away from Wan Yuan and the other two cultivators, Fang Xue knelt on the ground, leaning on her sword, and breathed heavily. "Even though this combination is powerful, I still can't sustain it for more than 5 seconds, Fang Xue thought as her bloodline healed the backlash damage from using star power. Li Chang and Hu Wen approached, completely enthralled by Fang Xue's fighting style, even though it had been swift and lasted for only a minute. When the fight had begun, Li Chang had pulled Hu Wen to watch from a distance, and they witnessed Fang Xue's agile and graceful movements coupled with her powerful strikes. Her long sleeves flowed with each motion, making her resemble an immortal fairy dancing as she claimed the lives of her enemies. "What a magnificent fight! But are you all right, Miss Fang?" Hu Wen said, her eyes shining with admiration. However, concern tinged her voice, knowing that Fang Xue had fought for her sake. Ha 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 ha. There's no need to worry, it's just a slight soreness in my muscles. Fang Xue laughed as she stood up and approached the three cultivators lying on the ground, now armless and trembling in fear of her. They had witnessed Fang Xue kill their comrades and were terrified of what she might do next. You looked at me in a way that disgusted me, so you deserve punishment. Fang Xue declared. With those words, she moved her sword toward the crotches of the three cultivators. Ignoring their cries of pain, she turned away. Let's go, Fang Xue said casually, carrying Li Chang in her arms and covering the remaining 5 miles. A little about the world and shocking everyone. In the infernal forest, the forest that separates the dreaded hell from Cloud City, 2 figures were seen running towards the city. They were Fang Xue and Hu Wen. Miss Hu, could you tell me about the power structure in Cloud City? Fang Xue asked Hu Wen, eager to learn more about the city. Sure, Cloud City is a human city located 200,000 miles from the demon border and is the closest city to hell. It is part of the Moon Empire, one of the 3 human empires. It's a medium-sized city with 3 main families. My Hu family, the Le clan, and the Jiyu family. Both the Hu family and Le clan are medium-sized powers ranking in the middle, while the Jiyu family is a medium-sized family that holds the top rank. They act as mediators between my Hu family and the Le family. Families and clans are ranked based on the strength of their cultivators. My Hu family and Le clan have ancestors with spirit essence cultivation, while the Jiyu family's ancestor is at the heavenly connection stage. Spirit essence and heavenly connection are the levels that come after the purification stage, with spirit essence being the next level and heavenly connection following spirit essence. The purification stage comes after core formation or Dantian opening. It would be beneficial if we could gain the support of the Hu family, but for that, we need to help Hu Wen activate her physique, Fang Xue said to Li Chang, not expecting Cloud City to be a formidable city. The Yin Maiden's physique is a special physique that only women can possess. It offers unparalleled cultivation speed and affinity with Yin Qi, as well as certain special abilities at certain cultivation stages, Li Chang explained, shedding light on the nature of the Yin Maiden's physique. And how do we activate it? Fang Xue inquired, seeking further understanding of the Yin Maiden's physique. It's not complicated. As I mentioned before, luckily, I have a few memories that provide a way to activate it, Li Chang reassured Fang Xue. After a few minutes, a tall gray-colored wall came into view before Fang Xue, Li Chang, and Hu Wen. When we reach the city gate, a member of my family will come to receive us, Hu Wen said happily, unable to hide her excitement at being alive and returning to her family. Okay, Fang Xue replied, contemplating how she would navigate amidst so many people. Despite her friendship with Hu Wen, she couldn't forget her animosity toward both humans and demons. Touching the space ring she had taken from Wan Yuan on her middle finger. Fang Xue remained vigilant as she approached the city gates, prepared to draw her sword and flee if necessary. When Fang Xue and Hu Wen were within 50 meters of the city gate, they started noticing a constant stream of people entering and leaving the city. Both of them caught the attention of passers-by due to their beauty, especially Fang Xue. Even with a veil covering her face, it did little to hide her beauty, instead, it added a mysterious air to her presence. As Sha Kai, the young master of the Sha family, a minor clan, was passing by, he became fixated on Fang Xue. He let his gaze linger, his intentions turning lustful. Assuming she was only at the 5th level of body training while he was at the 6th level, he believed he could force her to submit to him. Approaching her arrogantly, he began speaking. Hello, beautiful lady, why don't you? Sha Kai's words were abruptly cut short as a cold sensation struck his groin. Looking down, he saw blood spurting from his private area and let out a long cry of pain. His agonized scream, resembling that of a slaughtered pig, caught the attention of those nearby, and upon witnessing the scene, men couldn't help but wince in sympathy. They saw a veiled beauty standing a few meters away from Sha Kai, holding a blood-stained sword in one hand and a rabbit in the other. Her appearance exuded an aura of mystery. One thought resonated among the spectators. Next time, think with your head instead of another part of your anatomy. Fang Xue's voice, melodic yet cold and devoid of emotion, rang in everyone's ears. Although her tone lacked emotion, the disdain and mockery in her words were palpable. Unfazed by the crowd's gaze, Fang Xue sheathed her sword into her spatial ring and continued walking toward the city gate. Why are you standing there? Don't you want to rejoin your family? Fang Xue asked Hu Wen, who stood stunned by the unfolding events. Hu Wen had intended to boast that Fang Xue was a guest of the Hu family when she saw Sha Kai, knowing his nature. However, before she could say anything, Fang Xue had made him a eunuch. Some of the spectators belonged to the Sha family, and as they snapped out of their shock, they encircled Fang Xue. Damn woman! Do you realize what you've done? He was the young master of the Sha family, shouted a cultivator at the 9th level of body training, directing his killing intent towards Fang Xue. Fang Xue remained utterly indifferent, her emotionless gaze fixed on the one who spoke. Sha family? I have no idea who you are. All I know is that an idiot tried to do something foolish, and I gave him a small punishment. Fang Xue responded nonchalantly, even though she was surrounded by 10 cultivators. One of them couldn't bear Fang Xue's mockery any longer and charged at her with full force. Observing this, Fang Xue smiled imperceptibly beneath her veil. Looks like my plan worked, Fang Xue thought quickly and swiftly struck her palm towards the oncoming 7th level body training cultivator. Such a shame. Despite her beauty, she offended the Sha family, someone in the crowd lamented, feeling sorry for the 5th level body training girl being attacked by someone at the 7th level. The surrounding onlookers nodded in agreement. To everyone's astonishment, when Fang Xue's palm collided with the cultivator's fist, the expected scene of her being pushed back and mortally wounded did not unfold. Instead, it was the 7th-ranked cultivator who was sent flying backward, spitting out a mouthful of blood. The sight shocked everyone present, particularly the Sha family cultivators. They had anticipated the girl to be severely injured or even killed, but reality proved otherwise. Fang Xue, standing motionless in the same spot, her palm still outstretched and holding a rabbit in her other arm, retracted her hand. Using her slim and slender fingers, the same hand that had just sent a 7th-ranked cultivator flying, she gently stroked the head of the small rabbit. Pathetic. A single word escaped Fang Xue's lips, leaving everyone in shock. Patriarch of the Hu family and, I have a way. After those words, the whole place fell silent. I wonder if that was enough, Fang Xue asked Li Chang. Fang Xue was referring to the fact that everything up until now had been planned. Just before Sha Kai approached her, she felt a glance towards her, or more specifically, towards Hu Wen. Fang Xue initially thought it was one of those pursuers, but that look didn't contain any malicious intent. So, Fang Xue deduced that it was someone from the Hu family. But right after noticing that person, Fang Xue also felt Sha Kai's lustful gaze. Therefore, Fang Xue quickly came up with a plan. She wanted to show off some of her talent in front of the people of the Hu family, and Sha Kai was the perfect way to do so. Fang Xue knew that this would attract unwanted attention, but she should show her talent for the Hu family to value her more. After all, she would only help Hu Wen to activate her physique, and after the debt was paid off, she would no longer have anything to do with the Hu family. So, to ensure the Hu family's support, Fang Xue had to help Hu Wen and showcase her talent. The Hu family would want to continue to have a relationship with her. After all, what family wouldn't want another genius inside their house? As Fang Xue thought all of this, the crowd began to recover from their shock. My God, what did I just see? That little girl, from the 5th level of body training, sent someone from the 7th level flying and spitting blood, exclaimed someone in the crowd. How amazing, she's a genius, no doubt, Kaya, she's so beautiful, a woman screamed in the crowd. Sha Li, the Sha family's 9th level body training cultivator, felt his face heat up in humiliation. You damned woman, bellowed Sha Li, clenching his fists, ready to attack at any moment. Stop right now, she is a guest of my Hu family. Hu Wen, who was watching from the side, decided to intervene. When everyone heard those words and looked towards the owner of the voice, they saw the little princess of the Hu family and were a little surprised. After all, it was said that Hu Wen was dead. Me Miss Hu, this is between my Sha family and this insolent girl. Sha Li said it very respectfully, but he also couldn't let go of this matter. Otherwise, he would be punished by the patriarch of the Sha family. It looks like the Sha family doesn't put my Hu family in their eyes anymore. A man's voice rang out in everyone's ears, and looking in the direction of the voice's origin, an elderly man wearing a wide white robe flew through the skies. A core formation cultivator. Uncle Ling. Hu Wen exclaimed happily when she saw that elderly man. Hu Ling was the second elder of the Hu family and the blood brother of the patriarch, father of Hu Wen. Little Wen, you have no idea how sad your father is after he heard that you were attacked by the Le clan. Hu Ling said warmly as he descended from the sky and went to Hu Wen's side. Yes, I almost died, but Miss Fang Xue helped and saved me, Hu Wen said, smiling from ear to ear. After all, she was finally safe now. Hu Ling looked at Fang Xue, and a trace of admiration passed through his eyes. After all, when he was informed that they saw Hu Wen near the city gates, he quickly left. But when he arrived, he had the opportunity to see Fang Xue in action. This little girl is a genius, and it looks like she helped little Wen. We should make friends with her, Hu Ling thought. Greetings, Uncle Ling, Fang Xue said, bowing slightly towards Hu Ling. She couldn't afford to offend someone like him. Formalities aside, you saved the miss of our family, so we should be thanking you, Hu Ling said lightly, smiling before turning to the Shaw family cultivators. You heard my family's Miss Xue is a special guest of my family, Hu Ling said emotionlessly and used his chi to carry Fang Xue and Hu Wen into the city. The Shaw family's cultivators shook with rage, but there was nothing they could do. After all, the Hu family is much more powerful than the Shaw family. HMPH. The Hu family cannot protect you forever, Sha Li thought coldly and went to help his young master. As the crowd dispersed, Fang Xue was thinking about her next step to gain support from the Hu family. You need to find the opportunity to bring up the subject of Hu Wen's cultivation. Li Chang's voice sounded in Fang Xue's mind, helping her plan her next move. Miss Fang is truly a genius. Being able to handle someone from the 7th level of body training while she is at the 5th level is commendable, Hu Ling suddenly praised when they were already close to the Hu family mansion. Uncle Ling flatters me so much. I had to give my all to achieve that feat, Fang Xue smiled and replied, looking like she had used all of her strength. Ha 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 ha, you're pretty humble, Hu Ling laughed as he landed in the central courtyard of the Hu family. Hu Ling's appearance drew attention mainly because he carried two people with him, a beauty holding a rabbit and the young miss of the family. Hu Zhang, Hu Wen's father and the current patriarch of the Hu family, appeared suddenly and embraced his daughter. My little girl, you are alive. Hu Zhang cried with emotion that his daughter was still alive. Yes, Daddy, I'm still alive, but that's thanks to Miss Fang Xue, Hu Wen replied, pointing at Fang Xue. Looking in the direction his daughter pointed, Hu Zhang saw an 18-year-old girl, 181 centimeters tall and wearing a veil that only covered her nose and mouth. She had long black hair with white streaks and a pair of gray eyes. But it wasn't her appearance that caught his attention, nor the rabbit in her arms, but the special feeling she conveyed to him. That's weird, Hu Zhang thought, putting that feeling to the back of his mind. Thanks for saving my daughter. I don't know how to thank you, Hu Zhang said, almost bowing towards Fang Xue. The patriarch of the Hu family, no need to thank me. Saving her was a simple matter, Fang Xue replied in a calm tone. No, this is something serious. Let's go inside, I need to repay you. Somehow, Hu Zhang replied in a fair tone as he motioned to enter the mansion. Entering the huge mansion and walking down the long corridor, Fang Xue saw several paintings, mostly of a woman who somehow resembled Hu Wen. These paintings are of my late mother, Hu Wen's melancholy voice sounded beside Fang Xue. My condolences, Fang Xue replied, also with some melancholy in her voice. After all, she also lost both of her parents. The rest of the way, everyone was silent until they reached a room that had a large table with several chairs around it. Hu Zhang sat on the highest chair, showing his status. Hu Wen sat on her father's right side, and Hu Ling on his left. Fang Xue sat beside Hu Wen. When everyone sat down, Hu Wen began narrating the whole story, from the Le clan's attack, how she was saved by Fang Xue, and how Fang Xue fought outside the gates. Hu Wen only left out the part of Fang Xue's fight with those cultivators in the forest. She didn't want to expose too many things about Fang Xue. Finishing listening to the story, Hu Zhang took a long look at Fang Xue. Really, thank you so much for saving my daughter, Hu Zhang said without hiding the gratitude in his voice. Fang Xue was silent and only nodded. Sigh, if I were stronger, none of this would have happened. Hu Wen sighed loudly, lamenting her lack of talent. Hu Zhang and Hu Ling fell silent, also lamenting that the heavens were not fair. Maybe I have a way to help you cultivate, Fang Xue's clear and confident voice rang out in that room. The place became completely silent. Hu Wen and the sibling duo looked at Fang Xue, who was calm and unfazed even after saying those words and being stared at by 3 pairs of eyes. Hope and blood will flow soon. After a few seconds of deafening silence, the room began to feel slightly chilly. Please don't joke about something serious. Hu Yang's serious and cold voice rang out throughout the room, and his icy aura began to spread. Outside the room, it wasn't that Hu Zhang doubted Fang Xue, but he didn't want to give his daughter false hope, only to have it dashed later. Hu Wen and Hu Ling shuddered slightly. The two had never seen Hu Zhang speak so seriously before. Calm down, Dad. I'm sure Fang Xue wouldn't joke about something like that, Hu Wen said, trying to calm her father down. However, Hu Zhang didn't even listen to his daughter and just stared into Fang Xue's emotionless gray eyes. 10 seconds passed with Fang Xue and Hu Zhang facing each other. Sigh. Tell me, why do you think you can help my little Wen cultivate? Hu Zhang stopped staring at Fang Xue and sighed, giving her a chance to convince him. Before we start, I want to confirm a few things. Was Miss Hu born on a full moon day? Fang Xue said in a calm tone, her voice reverberating throughout the room. All 3 of them were surprised, not because Hu Wen's day of birth was a secret, but because Fang Xue had deduced it without any prior information. Yes. Hu Wen replied in a slightly excited tone. Okay. Miss Hu, when you turned 10, did your body feel cold and achy at night? Fang Xue continued without changing her tone. Hu Zhang stood up from his seat, completely stunned, as Fang Xue's words were true. When Hu Wen turned 10, she began to experience severe pain at night and emitted a cold aura. So it was, as I thought. Hu Wen possesses the maiden Yin's physique. When Fang Xue's voice faded, Hu Zhang, who was still standing, began to laugh loudly, his laughter echoing throughout the entire mansion. The heavens have not abandoned my daughter. Hu Zhang couldn't contain his joy. He knew a few things about this unique physique. Hu Wen and Hu Ling were stunned. They didn't know anything about the maiden Yin's physique and didn't expect such a huge reaction from their father. After a few seconds, Hu Zhang calmed down. Yes, it is indeed a remarkable physique. However, it often does not manifest itself at birth and instead manifests when entering the 4th level of body training. When Fang Xue saw that Hu Zhang had calmed down, she repeated Li Chang's words. I see, but why didn't little Wen awaken when she entered the 4th level of body training? Hu Zhang asked, somewhat confused but hopeful. Simply put, the person with this physique has a strong affinity with yin qi. However, if the physique doesn't awaken at birth, the person would usually cultivate a body training method that is yin qi oriented. If they instead practice a yang qi oriented method, it creates a yin-yang imbalance, preventing them from cultivating, Fang Xue explained calmly, repeating the words Li Chang had said in her mind. Now that you mention it, our body training method is yang qi oriented. Is there any way to reverse this? Hu Zhang said with a tinge of guilt in his voice. I've said it before, I have a way to help Hu Wen, but I can't do it right now. I would need to enter the Qi Sense realm, Fang Xue said confidently, although she was actually lying. Fang Xue could already help Hu Wen, but she wanted to take advantage of the Hu family's resources and showcase more of her talents. Why do you have to do it yourself, and why not now? Hu Zhang expressed his doubts. He already trusted Fang Xue, but he wanted to know more about the process and assess any potential risks. For starters, it has to be me because this technique has been passed down in my family, and it involves my secrets. And I must be in the Qi Sense realm because I will need to utilize my Qi. I understand your concern, but I assure you it's 100% safe, Fang Xue replied while stroking Li Chang's fur. If you are so confident, I will trust you. As for entering the Qi Sense realm, my Hu family owes you a lot, so we will provide you with the necessary resources. Hu Zhang replied solemnly as he walked towards the exit, motioning for everyone to follow him. Fang Xue held on to Li Chang, cradling her in her arms. Looks like everything went well. Fang Xue breathed a sigh of relief. After all, she wasn't sure if everything would go as planned. You're terrible. You're getting close to that girl and taking advantage of her family's resources. Li Chang's voice sounded in Fang Xue's mind. She has no connection to me. I will use everything at my disposal to exact my revenge, Fang Xue replied coldly. While Hu Zhang led the 3 of them to an unknown location, a servant came running towards him. Patriarch, some members of the Gu family have come to visit and celebrate that young miss is still alive, the servant humbly bowed and reported. Okay, take them to the guest lounge. I'll be there shortly, Hu Zhang said in a dignified tone befitting a patriarch. Understood. The servant bowed again and left to carry out the orders. Before we proceed to the room of treasures, let's greet our guests, Hu Zhang suggested softly to the three behind him. Fang Xue felt a surge of excitement upon hearing room of treasures, but she concealed her emotions and followed Hu Yang's suggestion. Walking towards a pair of large and imposing doors, Hu Ling hurried over and opened them for his patriarch. As the doors swung open fully, Fang Xue had a view of the interior, and her gray eyes quickly flashed a red hue, while her aura turned icy to the extreme. It was the right decision to come here, Fang Xue said to Li Chang, her tone icy and sinister. Li Chang, an ancient goddess, trembled in fear upon hearing Fang Xue's tone. Blood will soon be spilled, Li Chang thought, a little excited by the idea. The heavens are with me and Ji Yu Ning. Everyone in the room felt a cold aura, but when they looked towards its source, it vanished as if it had never been there. Before them stood a veiled beauty, with gray, calm eyes, holding a rabbit in her arms. The only one aware of the deep grudge and hatred hidden behind that composed gaze was Li Chang. Uncertain about the cause of Fang Xue's sudden change, Li Chang asked, half-jokingly, "What happened? You even scared me for a moment," in an attempt to calm Fang Xue down. Fang Xue replied, her voice cold, "You see that ugly old man over there? He's one of the people who helped capture my parents." She struggled to control her bloodlust, directing it away from the old man. Li Chang heard Fang Xue's words and looked in the direction she pointed. She saw a man in his 50s, with a long black beard streaked with white, and a friendly smile on his face. The old man's cultivation was at the heavenly connection half-step level. His name was Ji Yu Zemin, the patriarch of the Ji Yu family. Understanding Fang Xue's hatred, Li Chang tried to advise her, "I understand your hate, but you must control yourself. You can't risk your life before achieving your goals." "I know," Fang Xue replied, taking a deep breath and returning to her emotionless state. After their brief exchange, Fang Xue approached Ji Yu Zemin and another guest whose name she didn't know. "Greetings, Patriarch Ji Yu of the Ji Yu family," Hu Zhang respectfully greeted Ji Yu Zemin. "Greetings, Patriarch Ji Yu," Hu Wen, Hu Ling, and Fang Xue said in unison, bowing respectfully. Although Fang Xue clenched her teeth and felt her bloodlust increasing with every passing second, she knew that now was not the time to make a mistake. Unnoticed by Fang Xue and Li Chang, the golden glow of Fang Xue's Asura bloodline began to darken into a deep crimson. Even if they had noticed, they wouldn't have understood its significance. "No need to be so formal. I came to celebrate the fact that Miss Hu is alive." Ji Yu Zemin's pleasant and gentle voice resounded throughout the room. Fang Xue's hatred and disgust intensified upon hearing Ji Yu Zemin's voice, causing her bloodline to react further, turning more of the golden glow into dark crimson. "Ha ha ha, my little Wen was lucky to meet Miss Fang on her journey," Hu Zhang laughed, introducing Fang Xue to Patriarch Ji Yu. "My subordinates informed me about Miss Fang's exceptional strength, defeating someone at the 7th level of body training while being only at the 5th level. It's a rare sight," Ji Yu Zemin praised, his eyes gleaming when he saw Fang Xue. His gaze was not one of lust, but rather a desire to affiliate this girl with his family. "Patriarch Ji Yu, your praise is too generous. I am just a lowly cultivator with no affiliations," Fang Xue remarked, noticing the glint in Ji Yu Zemin's eyes and formulating an evil plan in her mind. "That makes your achievements even more remarkable. Without any support, you managed to reach this level of strength," Ji Yu Zemin replied, smiling wider at Fang Xue's words. Changing the subject, "I have brought my youngest son here. He has recently shown great talent and expressed a desire to meet Miss Hu upon hearing of her return." Ji Yu Zemin introduced a 16-year-old boy with long black hair, blue eyes, a slim build, and a height that belied his age. He was undeniably handsome. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Hu," Ji Yu Ning said, his voice gentle and pleasant, mirroring his father's. With a slight smile, he could captivate the heart of any maiden. When Fang Xue first laid eyes on Hu Ning, a strange feeling stirred deep within her soul. "Leer, there's something wrong with him," Fang Xue conveyed to Li Chang, sensing that Hu Ning was not normal, but unsure of the exact cause. "You are right. He is someone from your previous world," Li Chang replied. As a soul fragment, she is able to sense that Hu Ning's soul was not from This world, but from Earth, just like Fang Xue. Fang Xue's emotionless facade nearly cracked upon hearing those words. She was prepared for anything, but she never expected this. Even though you told me that heaven would try to kill me, he is helping me. If the heavens are not on my side, what is? Fang Xue spoke to Li Chang. A sense of joy and anticipation filling her. Knowing that she could exact revenge on those she hated the most. It's equally a pleasure to meet you, big brother Ji Yu, Hu Wen replied timidly, blushing as she fell for Ji Yu Ning's charms. Witnessing Hu Wen's reaction, a flash of pleasure crossed Ji Yu Ning's eyes, but it was fleeting enough to go unnoticed. However, Fang Xue and Li Chang did catch the glimmer and began to wonder about his motives. Little Xue, I think he might know about Hu Wen's physique and wants to take advantage of it, Li Chang shared her suspicions. How? Fang Xue didn't grasp Li Chang's meaning, but if Hu Wen's physique could benefit her as well, she was intrigued. Little Xue, dismiss that idea. What he wants is Hu Wen's primordial yin. Thanks to her maiden yin's physique, when someone takes her purity, the primordial yin becomes highly beneficial to the one who takes it. But if you don't employ a proper dual cultivation technique, Hu Wen will die. Li Chang replied coldly, aware of Fang Xue's thoughts and firmly against the idea. Fang Xue was momentarily taken aback by Li Chang's response and tone, but quickly regained her composure. I can also use this. Hu Zhang loves Hu Wen, and if he discovers Ji Yu Ning's plan, I can exploit this to make the Hu family fight against the Ji Yu family. Plans and ideas on how to deal with the Ji Yu family raced through Fang Xue's mind. Fang Xue was no fool. She wanted to kill Ji Yu Zemin with her bare hands, but she understood that she would need support to take on the entire Ji Yu family. The Hu family would be the perfect pawn for Fang Xue to use in her revenge. Recruitment examination and choosing rewards. Don't you feel remorse for using the Hu family like this? Li Chang curiously asked Fang Xue. I know how to repay kindness and gratitude. What the Hu family and I have so far is just them repaying a debt. If, in the future, the Hu family proves to be a true ally, I will reconsider my plan, Fang Xue replied indifferently. Fang Xue was someone who understood the difference between good and evil. However, she didn't fully trust Hu Wen and her family, partly due to her trauma of being hunted by both humans and demons. Although it was now practically impossible for anyone to discover her identity as a half-demon and half-human, Fang Xue still carried the weight of her past in her heart. Hu Zhang, who was observing the scene of Ji Yu Ning and his daughter talking, felt that something was amiss, but he quickly dismissed the feeling. He believed that if his daughter could marry Ji Yu Ning, it would be advantageous for the Hu family to have a powerful ally. Putting the lovebirds aside, I came to discuss some matters related to the sect recruitment exam, Ji Yu Zemin coughed, diverting everyone's attention to him. Sect recruitment exam? I thought it was scheduled for 2 years from now, Hu Zhang asked, a bit confused. After all, the sect recruitment exam was held every 3 years, and the last recruitment took place just 6 months ago. You're correct, but humanity's soothsayer has predicted changes in hell. As a result, the sects have decided to hold the next recruitment 1 year from now, right here in Cloud City, Ji Yu Zemin announced while sipping tea served by a servant. Changes in hell? Hu Zhang asked with concern. Although he was pleased that his daughter could activate her yin maiden physique and demonstrate her talents to a sect, he couldn't help but worry about what would happen in hell. Even the soothsayer doesn't have precise details about the changes. He only mentioned that a significant transformation will occur in hell, accompanied by unique opportunities, in 1 year's time. The sects have decided to investigate and hold the recruitment earlier, as the soothsayer also predicted the emergence of many geniuses in this era. Since our city is the closest to hell, it was chosen as the location for the next recruitment, Ji Yu Zemin explained calmly. Changes in hell? Lear, do you know what will happen? Fang Xue asked Li Chang after hearing the news. After all, hell only existed because of her. I'm not sure, but it could mean that the land of hell will start to return to normal now that I'm no longer there. As for the unique opportunities, it might refer to the powerful sect that once existed in hell before I destroyed it, Li Chang replied, indifferent to the matter. Alright, that's a concern for the future. Right now, I need to increase my strength and join a sect. Fang Xue contemplated Li Chang's words but set them aside, focusing on her next goal, joining the White Lotus sect. I'm relieved that the sects are inquiring about the situation in hell and organizing the recruitment. It will greatly benefit our city. Hu Zhang expressed his relief. With his concerns alleviated, he became even more determined to have his daughter activate her physique and join a powerful sect, thereby enhancing the prestige of the Hu family. Well, I should go now. My son has already met Miss Hu, and I have conveyed what I needed to say, Ji Zemin announced, preparing to leave while casting a fleeting glance at Fang Xue. Don't regret your decision later, old man. Fang Xue noticed the look and coldly laughed to herself as she stood up as well. Until next time, big brother Ji Hu Wen, who was seated next to Fang Xue, said with a slight blush on her face. Ji Ning simply smiled and nodded before following his father out of the room. Now that we've had an unexpected visitor, let's proceed to the treasure room and reward you, Miss Fang, Hu Zhang suggested as he noticed Ji Zemin's departure. Yes, I will strive to reach the Qi Sense realm as soon as possible to activate Hu Wen's physique and enable her to participate in the sect. Recruitment, Fang Xue replied, understanding Hu Yang's intentions and expressing the words he wanted to hear. Good. Let's not waste any time. Every second counts, Hu Zhang responded happily to Fang Xue's cleverness. They returned to the corridor and entered an office that appeared entirely ordinary to Fang Xue. However, she was stunned when she saw Hu Zhang place his hand on a wall and infuse it with qi, causing the wall to disappear as if it had never existed. Let's go inside, and if you find anything that catches your interest, just let me know, Miss Fang, Hu Zhang gestured for everyone to enter. As Fang Xue stepped inside, she felt like she had entered another world of 40 square meter room filled with various armors, sabers, swords, and spears greeted her eyes. It wasn't just armor and weapons. There were also some delicate china bottles containing mysterious pills stacked in a corner. Please choose one bottle of pills, one weapon or armor, and something else of your preference, Hu Zhang instructed Fang Xue. Hu Ling looked slightly surprised, but soon understood his patriarch's thoughts. Fang Xue was a genius, and aligning her with the Hu family would bring significant benefits. Really, thank you very much, Patriarch Hu, Fang Xue responded, feigning happiness as she lightly bowed towards Hu Zhang. She didn't choose anything extraordinary. That works in my favor, Hu Zhang chuckled internally, noting Fang Xue's choices, but refrained from commenting. Lear, can you see anything special here? Like a legendary sword or a powerful ancient pill? Fang Xue inquired of Li Chang, hoping to find something remarkable amidst the selection. She had read cultivation stories in her previous life on Earth, and the protagonist often acquired extraordinary items in similar situations. I don't understand what you're looking for. There are indeed some excellent items, but nothing as extraordinary as you're hoping for, Li Chang replied, finding Fang Xue's excitement perplexing. Too bad. JST, tell me what would be beneficial for me. Fang Xue sighed and let Li Chang make the choices for her. Do you see those 2 bottles of pills? One contains 3 red pills, and the other has 3 blue pills. Take them. They will be beneficial for you. As for the weapon, nothing here is particularly special, but you can choose the Hanfu with the same design as your current one. It's unique, Li Chang pointed out, guiding Fang Xue's selection. Alright, I've made my choices. Fang Xue returned with the 3 items in hand, never letting go of Li Chang. Hu Zhang raised an eyebrow upon seeing Fang Xue's choices but chose not to comment on them. She didn't pick anything exceptional. That's even better for me, Hu Zhang chuckled internally and nodded for everyone to leave. Lear, explain to me the purpose of these items. From Hu Yang's reaction, it doesn't seem like they are good things. Fang Xue asked Li Chang, realizing that her choices might not have been favorable. When we are alone, I'll explain it to you. Just know that these items are beneficial for your current situation, Li Chang replied, indifferent to what a mere mortal thought of her choices. The blossom of the lotus and protagonist. Lil Wen, please take me to a courtyard, Hu Zhang instructed Hu Wen, hoping that Fang Xue would enter the Qi Sense realm quickly. You can come with me, Dad. Miss Fang, follow me, please, Hu Wen replied, turning towards Fang Xue and leading the way. Fang Xue nodded and followed Hu Wen, while Hu Zhang and Hu Ling watched her until she disappeared from their sight. I hope she progresses swiftly, Hu Ling muttered, and Hu Zhang nodded in agreement. Let's continue with our tasks, Hu Zhang said to Hu Ling, walking in the opposite direction from Fang Xue and Hu Wen. Miss Fang, Hu Wen began, but was interrupted by Fang Xue. Just call me big sister. There's no need to be so formal, Fang Xue said in an indifferent tone. Fang Xue didn't trust Hu Wen, but she knew she needed to get closer to her to gain support and possibly a future ally. So, Fang Xue decided to start building a good relationship early on. Okay, big sister. Then, just call me Little Wen, Hu Wen happily responded, as Fang Xue had always given her an unapproachable aura. Little Wen. Where are we going? Fang Xue asked. I'll take you to a courtyard reserved for guests. The mansion is just the front. If we go deeper, we'll find a large open space with several courtyards for family members. Hu Wen replied with a smile on her face, glad to be called Little Wen by Fang Xue. Oh, how many members does the Hu family have? Fang Xue asked, somewhat interested. We have 500 people, but only 30 are blood members of our Hu family. The others are the most talented individuals from small families and clans who serve as our subordinates, Hu Wen replied without hiding anything. Interesting, Fang Xue thought after hearing that. A few minutes later, Hu Wen and Fang Xue arrived at a courtyard, which was 50 square meters in size, with a small hut in the center. A few trees were planted here and there, and a human-shaped straw doll stood beside the hut. What is that doll? Fang Xue asked curiously. That's a dummy used to test your strength. If you punch it, it will calculate the strength of your punch. It can withstand up to 5 tons, 5,000 kilograms, Hu Wen replied to Fang Xue. That's it for now. If you have any doubts, just tear this talisman. I'll come to you quickly. I won't bother elder sister anymore. See you later, Hu Wen said, handing some simple-looking talismans to Fang Xue and leaving her alone. Sigh finally, we are alone, Fang Xue sighed and walked towards the hut. Despite its appearance, the hut was quite spacious inside, with 2 rooms, one for cultivation and one for sleeping, a bathroom, a living room with some sofas, and a kitchen. Not bad, Fang Xue commented as she walked towards the cultivation room. After all, she wanted to cultivate as soon as possible. Upon entering the room, Fang Xue noticed there was only one zafu, meditation cushion, in the center, and she also felt that the qi in the room was much denser than anywhere else. Although Fang Xue couldn't store the qi inside her body and use it, she could feel its presence around her. Here's an energy collection matrix. Although it's simple, it helps. Concentrate the qi in one place. Li Chang stepped out of Fang Xue's arms and briefly explained. Cool. Now, can you tell me why you chose this for me? Fang Xue sat on the zafu and took out the items Li Chang had chosen earlier from her storage ring. First, the clothes. They have the same design as your current ones, but they are made with a special thread that can absorb qi from the environment and repair itself. They are also enchanted with self-cleaning, but that's not what makes them special. The thread used to make the clothes is taken from a blood spider, which has a unique ability. It can suck people's blood and strengthen its threads, making them deadly. Li Chang explained the special features of the outfit. Fang Xue was already pleased with the self-repairing ability and self-cleaning, but Li Chang's explanation left her somewhat confused. I don't understand. Even if the clothing is made from the threads of these blood spiders, the threads shouldn't possess the same capabilities as the spider, right? Fang Xue asked. She understood that the spider's ability was powerful, but it shouldn't have anything to do with the threads already used. You're half right. What people don't know is that spiders suck blood and send it to their threads to absorb and strengthen themselves. So, it's the threads that have this ability, not the spider itself, Li Chang clarified, resolving Fang Xue's confusion as she looked at the clothes with a bit of happiness. But I chose this for you because of your Asura bloodline. If this outfit absorbs some of your bloodline, it will strengthen to a higher level and increase your strength when you activate your bloodline. Li Chang explained why this outfit would be so beneficial for Fang Xue. Now Fang Xue was completely delighted. She knew her bloodline was unique and strong, and she also knew she had only scratched the surface of its power. Then let's not waste time, Fang Xue said, slashing her palm to let her blood, containing the Asura bloodline, fall onto her clothing. To Fang Xue and Li Chang's surprise, her previously red and golden Asura bloodline turned predominantly red, with the golden glow practically disappearing and a dark crimson taking its place. When the blood touched the clothes, instead of staining them, the clothes absorbed the blood like a dry sponge in contact with water. But the surprises didn't end there. Some red 9-petaled lotuses started to appear on the clothes, as if they were blooming. These lotuses were the same ones that appeared on Fang Xue's glabella when she activated her bloodline. When the entire process was over, Li Chang and Fang Xue had recovered from their shock and were now looking at the new dress. It had the same design as before, a white hanfu with black hems and wide sleeves, but now it had red 9-petal lotuses drawn on it, giving a sense of danger to anyone who looked at it. When Fang Xue wears the dress, she will appear like a pure immortal fairy. Elegant, but with an air of danger around her. Looks like those cultivation stories were right after all. Fang Xue laughed as she remembered how disappointed she was at not receiving any ancient and powerful items like in the cultivation stories. But in the end, Fang Xue experienced a similar event to the protagonists of those stories. Black and white meridians and crimson starlight. Did you expect this to happen? Fang Xue asked Li Chang. Although she already knew the answer. Fang Xue wanted to express her thoughts. No, I didn't anticipate the Asura bloodline to exhibit such changes, but I believe it is connected to the alteration it underwent, Li Chang replied, referring to the shift from golden to dark crimson. Even if you say that, I have no idea what caused this transformation, Fang Xue said, her voice filled with confusion and curiosity. She was eager to understand the reason behind this change. Fang Xue and Li Chang began reminiscing about past events and attempted to find an explanation for this phenomenon. Now that I think about it, when I encountered that foolish old man, I sensed something within my body. However, I was so focused on controlling my bloodlust that I didn't pay it any attention, Fang Xue said after a few moments of contemplation. Perhaps your bloodlust triggered your lineage and triggered its evolution. However, we don't know the extent of this evolution yet, as there were still traces of gold in that blood, Li Chang speculated. Li Chang was correct. Fang Xue's bloodline had indeed undergone evolution, albeit an incomplete one. We are still uncertain about the specifics, so we will investigate the changes later. However, this evolution appears to be beneficial rather than harmful. Fang Xue decided to conduct further research on her lineage at a later time. For now, she wanted to understand the effects of the pills. Why did you have me choose these pills? Fang Xue inquired directly, holding 2 china bottles in her hands and inspecting the 3 red pills in one bottle and the 3 blue pills in the other. The red pills are called Yang fire pills, and the blue pills are called Yin ice pills. They are primarily used to temper the body at the body training level. If someone in the Qi sense realm uses them, their effectiveness depends on the individual's Qi affinity and can aid in purifying their Qi, Li Chang explained to Fang Xue. However, this choice only puzzled her further. They seem like good pills, but don't they seem ordinary? Fang Xue asked. Among the many pills, these 2 bottles didn't appear particularly attractive to her. Yes, they are relatively ordinary, but the unique aspect is that you will consume 1 pill from each bottle simultaneously. For others, this would be akin to suicide, but you can utilize the collision of yin and yang to temper your body, Li Chang elucidated, clarifying why these pills were ideal for Fang Xue. Can the chaotic star formula achieve the same effect? Fang Xue wondered aloud, marveling at the notion that suppressing and enhancing the body through the collision of 2 opposing elements was truly remarkable. Fang Xue knew that a yin-yang collision within a cultivator's body was typically fatal. The 2 elements would clash, leading to small explosions within the body. No, this is something unique to your body. Your meridians are half white and half black because you are half demon and half human. Demons have a greater affinity for yin qi, with a few for yang qi, while humans have the highest affinity for yang qi, with a few for yin qi. As someone who embodies both races, you possess an affinity for both yin and yang. It was this imbalance that prevented you from cultivating in the past. Li Chang revealed the mystery behind Fang Xue's distinct meridians. I see. Also, do these distinct meridians grant me any special physique? Fang Xue sighed, recalling her past and inquiring about any unique physical attributes. No, it's solely a distinction in your meridians. While it is rare, it is not unheard of. In the past, there were individuals who could cultivate both yin and yang. Li Chang dashed Fang Xue's hopes. Possessing a special physique would bestow unique abilities, but Fang Xue did not possess such a trait. Sigh, that's a shame. Let's begin cultivating now, Fang Xue sighed and assumed the lotus position. With a red pill in one hand and a blue pill in the other, Fang Xue wasted no time and swallowed both pills. As the pills landed on Fang Xue's tongue, they melted, releasing a stream of medicinal energy. One stream was red and scorching like lava. The other stream was blue and cold as ice. Soon, these two opposing currents sought to suppress each other, causing Fang Xue great pain. When the pain began to spread throughout her body, Fang Xue activated the chaotic star formula. As Fang Xue commenced the circulation of the chaotic star formula, her Asura bloodline also surged with increased intensity. As the starlight poured over Fang Xue, the once white radiance began to take on crimson hues. Li Chang, who had cultivated this technique to a high level in the past, observed this change with sparkling eyes. The Asura bloodline is truly formidable. Thanks to her bloodline, little Xue is now connecting with a specific star, Li Chang thought excitedly. Fang Xue, still contending with the pain of the yin-yang collision and the pressure from the starlight, remained unaware of these changes. Low crackling sounds emanated from Fang Xue's body. Her muscles tore and healed endlessly. Her bones cracked and swiftly mended. Furthermore, her internal organs and meridians absorbed small amounts of yin-yang energy, rendering them even stronger. However, it was her bloodline that benefited the most, absorbing the majority of the yin-yang energy. Unlike previous cultivation sessions, Fang Xue expelled significantly fewer impurities from her body. Most of the impurities had already been eliminated after consuming the poison pill. The expelled impurities now originated from her meridians, a removal process achievable only at the 7th level of body training. The pain resulting from the yin-yang collision was not as severe as when she had used the poison pill, but it was still quite intense. Li Chang was right. If it weren't for my meridians, which possess an affinity for both yin and yang qi, they would have already ruptured, Fang Xue thought, carefully analyzing the sensations within her body. 30 minutes later, the crimson hues in the starlight grew more pronounced, and the medicinal energy from the pills had nearly dissipated. I have reached the 6th level of body training, just one step away from the 7th level, Fang Xue thought, immensely pleased with this breakthrough. She knew that consuming more of these two pills would, at the very least, propel her to the 8th level of body training. Feelings and equipment lost. Congratulations on your breakthrough. Li Chang's voice reached Fang Xue's ears. Fang Xue chuckled lightly and headed towards the bathroom, as she disliked being dirty. Li Chang followed her, having some matters to discuss. Upon entering the bathroom, Fang Xue noticed steam rising from the water in the large bathtub at the center. How wonderful! Fang Xue exclaimed in awe, swiftly removing her clothes and veil before stepping into the bathtub to cleanse herself. Li Chang, who had been trailing Fang Xue, was not as embarrassed as the first time she saw Fang Xue naked, but she still felt slightly shy. Aren't you going to take the other pills? Li Chang asked Fang Xue. But Fang Xue had her own perspective on the matter. No, I will wait a few more days to acclimate to my newfound strength and allow my body to recover further. Rushing the process could potentially cause micro-injuries and affect my future progress. It's crucial to give my body time to recover and adapt to this power, Fang Xue explained, understanding the importance of maintaining a solid foundation. Good. I was about to say the same. It's common for cultivators to desire quick advancement and overlook the importance of a strong foundation, Li Chang replied with satisfaction, aware of the tendency to neglect foundational development. Cultivation has always been a gradual process, and even though it may seem slow, a cultivator's foundation determines their future. Any damage to the foundation can jeopardize their progress. By the way, I wanted to mention your lineage. During your cultivation session, you began to connect with a specific star, Li Chang exclaimed, recalling the crimson light. However, she soon realized her mistake upon seeing Fang Xue's perplexed expression. I will transmit that knowledge directly into your mind, Li Chang sighed, and a beam of light emanated from her forehead, traveling towards Fang Xue's forehead. Fang Xue closed her eyes and absorbed the knowledge being transmitted. The chaotic stars formula allows the cultivator to connect with any star and harness its light to temper the body. As one advances in this formula, they can connect with more stars and store a greater amount of star power. However, connecting with a specific star requires tremendous effort and a stroke of luck. These stars possess special attributes, and when a cultivator connects with such a star, their star power becomes stronger. The resonance between the cultivator and the star power is heightened. Fang Xue opened her eyes, her face reflecting happiness. My Asura lineage is truly unique. I can't even fathom when I will uncover all its secrets. But which attribute does the star I connected with possess? Fang Xue smiled and inquired further about her star. As I mentioned before, you began to connect but didn't succeed in the end. I believe you need to fully evolve your bloodline. Moreover, even if you connect with a specific star, your power won't increase significantly until an inner star is formed, which will grant a substantial boost, Li Chang explained, shattering Fang Xue's dreams. Fang Xue huffed and pouted as her illusions were shattered by Li Chang's words. Li Chang felt a slight tremor in her heart upon witnessing Fang Xue's pout. I can't believe I, who have lived for millions of years, am being moved by mortal millions of years my junior. What a joke, Li Chang thought, but the more time she spent with Fang Xue, the more she became aware of her feelings. Ahem, let's set that aside for now and rest. It's getting late, Li Chang coughed lightly, diverting her attention away from Fang Xue. Fang Xue nodded and finished cleansing herself. Emerging from the bathroom, now clad in her new hanfu, which she named the Asura dress due to the transformation triggered by her Asura bloodline, Fang Xue made her way to her bedroom to sleep. Upon opening the bedroom door, Fang Xue beheld a spacious double bed, appearing soft and comfortable. As Fang Xue lay down, reality surpassed her expectations. The bed proved to be the most comfortable she had ever experienced in both of her lives. Li Chang also lay down beside Fang Xue, who swiftly fell asleep after closing her eyes. That brat better take responsibility for my feelings, Li Chang thought before succumbing to sleep herself. At sunrise, Fang Xue slowly opened her eyes and blinked a few times to shake off drowsiness. I've never slept so well before, Fang Xue thought, comparing it to the alertness she maintained when she resided in Cloud City. Seated on the bed, Fang Xue noticed a small ball of black fur curled up next to her. Her eyes softened as she pondered her life on Earth. Since losing her parents, she had been alone. But now, she had this proud goddess by her side. Leer, wake up, Fang Xue called, gently shaking Li Chang. Little Xue, is it morning already? Li Chang asked, still groggy and drowsy. Yes, you lazy goddess. I need to speak with Patriarch Hu about a few matters. Let's go, Fang Xue teased, carrying Li Chang in her arms. As Fang Xue proceeded towards the exit of the hut, she heard sounds coming from the door. Opening it, she found Hu Wen with a slight smile on her face. Good morning. I've come to fetch you. My father wishes to speak with you about some things, Hu Wen said, her smile soon transforming into surprise as she sensed Fang Xue's attainment of the 6th level of body training. Good. I also wanted to speak with the Patriarch, Fang Xue replied, a light smile gracing her face. However, hidden behind her veil, her beautiful smile remained concealed. Hu Wen nodded and returned to the mansion to meet her father. Fang Xue followed Hu Wen, traversing several courtyards. Curious gazes from a few cultivators fell upon her as they passed by. Was it you who struck my brother yesterday? A gruff voice sounded from behind Fang Xue. As Fang Xue and Hu Wen turned towards the source, they beheld a 16-year-old boy, robust in build, resembling a bear. He was Sha Chao, the foremost young master of the Sha family and brother of Sha Kai. Although the Sha family was subordinate to the Hu family, some members refused to accept this status due to their unwarranted pride. Sha Chao had been sent as a spy by the Sha family, intending to gather information from the Hu family while pretending to be their subordinate. Who are you? Fang Xue coldly inquired. HMPH. I am Sha Chao, the young master of the Sha family. Yesterday, you attacked my brother, and today, I shall avenge him, Sha Chao declared angrily, with a hint of murderous intent. Now I remember. I actually neutered a dog yesterday. Would you like the same service? Fang Xue mockingly retorted, showing no concern for Sha Chao's threat. After all, he was at the 8th level of body training, and with Fang Xue's advancement to the 6th level, she could defeat him without resorting to any trump cards. Upon hearing Fang Xue's scornful and mocking words, Sha Chao wasted no time. He unsheathed a heavy saber and swung it towards Fang Xue's face. Hu Wen wanted to intervene, but her father's voice resounded in her mind. Leave them be. The Sha family has become arrogant as of late, Hu Zhang instructed Hu Wen. He was aware of the Sha family's scheme, but he held no concern. After all, strength was paramount in this world. Fang Xue swiftly grabbed Li Chang with one arm and drew her sword from the spatial ring. Utilizing her phantom steps, Fang Xue disappeared from sight and reappeared at Sha Chao's side, slashing with her sword. Sha Chao was taken aback, But he employed the momentum of his forward attack and twisted his body to block Fang Xue's strike. Upon the clash of their weapons, Sha Chao was forced backward, while Fang Xue remained steadfast. Sensing an opportunity, Fang Xue maximized her phantom steps and slashed at Sha Chao once again. Still reeling from the previous blow and off balance, Sha Chao felt a profound dread upon witnessing Fang Xue's sword hurtling towards him. After a few seconds, however, Sha Chao realized he was still alive, yet. Before he could sigh in relief, he felt a coldness and pain emanating from his groin. Glancing down, Sha Chao saw blood gushing out, and his equipment was nowhere to be found. I asked if you wanted the same service I provided for your brother. An emotionless voice resonated from behind Sha Chao, sounding akin to a whisper from a demon. Sect recruitment information and the White Lotus sect. Before Sha Chao could cry out, he felt a stab of pain in the back of his neck, and then his vision began to darken, and his consciousness slipped away. Grabbing the back of Sha Chao's head, Fang Xue threw his body towards the crowd. "Take care of him," Fang Xue said coldly. Those few words sent shivers through the crowd, who grabbed Sha Chao's body and quickly dispersed. "You caused a scene. Aren't you afraid of Patriarch Hu getting angry?" Li Chang asked curiously. "Not at all. When Sha Chao went to attack me, Hu Wen wanted to intervene, but she stopped for a moment and then decided not to intervene anymore. Probably Hu Zhang told her not to interfere," Fang Xue replied calmly. After all, she had been paying attention to Hu Wen and noticed her change in attitude. "Besides, it's always good to show my talents without exposing my trump cards. The more value I show, the more resources I gain." Fang Xue finished her reasoning and continued to walk towards the mansion. Hu Wen was stunned in place. She knew that Fang Xue was strong, but she didn't think it would be that easy for her to defeat Sha Chao even without using her trump cards. Even though Hu Wen knew that Fang Xue had assets capable of raising her combat prowess to another level, she would never say anything. After all, her future was in Fang Xue's hands. "You're going to stand there for how long?" Hu Wen heard Fang Xue's voice, and when Hu Wen woke up from her thoughts, Fang Xue was already a few meters away. "Big sister, you are amazing." Hu Wen rushed to catch up with Fang Xue and said those words with shining eyes. "There's nothing amazing about it. That Sha Chao was too weak." Fang Xue laughed a little and said calmly. Hu Wen nearly gasped when he heard that Sha Chao was weak because, in fact, Sha Chao was the strongest cultivator of the 8th level of body training in the Hu family. Deciding to remain silent, Hu Wen led Fang Xue through the mansion and into a large dining room with a long table and several chairs around it. Some of those chairs were occupied by familiar and unfamiliar faces to Fang Xue. Hu Zhang and Hu Ling were people Fang Xue knew, but 3 middle-aged men were unknown to her. "Miss Fang, you're here," Hu Zhang excitedly exclaimed when he saw Fang Xue walk through the door. There was no way he couldn't be happy. A genius like Fang Xue fell into his hands, and having a good relationship with her was essential. Hu Ling, who was beside Hu Zhang, was smiling lightly. The other 3 middle-aged men were looking at Fang Xue with a glint of wonder in their eyes. After all, they had witnessed the fight with their divine senses. Fang Xue slightly furrowed her brows. She didn't like being scrutinized like that, but she knew she couldn't help it. "Miss Fang, please sit down. I will introduce you to the other elders," Hu Zhang said, pointing to an empty chair next to Hu Ling. As Fang Xue and Hu Wen sat down, a group of maids entered and served some food. "These are spiritual foods. They contain qi and herbs capable of aiding the body," Li Chang commented as she picked up and ate a piece of meat from Fang Xue's plate. Looking at the scene of a rabbit stealing her food, Fang Xue rolled her eyes and started to eat the other piece of meat. "Miss Fang, these are our other 3 elders. If you have any questions, just ask them," Hu Zhang said, pointing at the 3 middle-aged men. The 1st, 3rd, and 4th elders were all brothers and had similar appearances, with the only difference being their expressions. The 1st elder had an indifferent expression. The 3rd elder had a slight, gentle smile on his face. And the 4th elder had a fierce expression and some scars on his face. Fang Xue salutes the elders. Fang Xue clenched her fists and gave a salute to the 3 elders. However, when she finished her greeting, she felt a slight pressure on her shoulders. "Where did you come from, and what are your intentions for my family?" the 1st elder asked sternly, as he applied more pressure to Fang Xue. To everyone's surprise, Fang Xue remained immovable under his pressure, which could even pressure someone at the 9th level of body training. Is this how the Hu family treats their guests? I even proposed to help Hu Wen, but this is how they treat me. If they don't want me here, someone else might, like the Gu family or even the Le clan. Fang Xue lightly snorted and said in an indifferent tone. As her words died away, a hush fell over the room, and soon the pressure that had fallen on Fang Xue disappeared as if it had never existed. Please forgive my manners, but I need to know what your intentions are. The first elder lightly apologized, but still didn't give up probing Fang Xue. Don't worry, I understand, but trying to force me isn't the best way to go about it. Fang Xue replied in a cold tone, but was willing to forgive the first elder's manners. First, my name is Fang Xue. I'm 16 years old, and my village was attacked by demonic beasts, forcing me to enter hell. Luckily, I managed to get out of there alive, and later I found Little Wen. In my village, there were some old books, and one of them talked about the Yin maiden physique. That's why I recognized it and know how to activate it. As for my intentions, I need resources to improve my strength and join the White Lotus sect. That's why I decided to come to the Hu family. Fang Xue told a completely false story, but she said it with such confidence that even Li Chang, who knew Fang Xue's true story, almost believed her for a second. Damn it! How can you spout so many lies so naturally? Li Chang asked, a little disbelieving in her voice. After all, even someone who has lived thousands of years couldn't lie as well as Fang Xue. I'm sorry again. As long as you help Little Wen and don't betray my Hu family, we will help you fulfill your goal. The first elder apologized again, but this time he seemed more sincere. All the other people nodded in agreement with the first elder. It's like you heard, Patriarch. I wish to join the White Lotus sect, so could you enlighten me more about this sect? Fang Xue asked, looking at Hu Zhang. No need to call me Patriarch. Just call me uncle, and I'll call you niece, Hu Zhang said, and when he saw Fang Xue nodding, he decided to answer the question. The White Lotus sect is ranked 3rd in the human sect ranking. It is a sect that only accepts women and has a large collection of knowledge of various types. The sect leader, Xu Zifeng, is extremely powerful and very protective of her female disciples. To be accepted into this sect, you have to excel in the recruitment exam since its requirements are quite high. Actually, there is a rumor that Xu Zifeng has found an ancient inheritance, but she has not been accepted as the heiress of that inheritance. So she is looking for the heiress and intends to transform her into the future sect leader. Hu Zhang shared everything he knew about the White Lotus sect, even mentioning a baseless rumor. Fang Xue, who was listening intently, felt that what drew her to the White Lotus sect was this supposed inheritance. How is this recruitment exam? Fang Xue asked, as she wanted to be prepared since she definitely wanted to enter the White Lotus sect. With each exam, the tests change, but basic things like checking the cultivator's bone age, their cultivation, and their combat prowess will definitely be included. However, the specific format changes every year. In addition to having minimum requirements, such as being up to 18 years old and having cultivation at least in the Qi sense realm, many powerful and prestigious sects will come to recruit new cultivators. Those who are selected will be taken to the nearest branch, which, in the case of the White Lotus sect, is 500,000 miles away from Cloud City. Hu Zhang tried to explain as fully as possible. Fang Xue felt a slight time pressure since she was rapidly progressing through the body training level, and entering the Qi sense realm wouldn't be that difficult. However, competing against geniuses who have cultivated longer than her and have abundant resources at their disposal would be complicated. Nevertheless, Fang Xue would use this pressure to grow stronger and progress even further, surpassing all those geniuses. Unintelligent goddess and training camps. Thank you very much for the information, Uncle Zhang, Fang Xue responded after hearing Hu Yang's information. No problem. In addition to introducing you to the elders, I also wanted to talk about the Tournament of Clouds, a small tournament that will take place in 6 months, and all the young talents of Cloud City will participate. Maybe you are interested, Hu Zhang said, smiling slightly, as he was sure Fang Xue would participate. Raising an eyebrow, Fang Xue was genuinely interested in this tournament but wanted to know if there would be any rewards. Does this tournament have any kind of awards? Fang Xue asked directly, as she was a straightforward person. Since niece Xue is so straightforward, I won't stall. Yes, there will be an award, but that's all I'll say, Hu Zhang replied with a mysterious smile. Then I would be interested in participating, but I want to know more about where I could train, Fang Xue said, expressing her concern about having a good training environment, aside from resources. Niece Xue, you don't need to worry about something so simple. Little Wen will take you to the Hu family's training camps, Hu Zhang assured her and stood up from his seat, signaling for the elders to follow him. I'll take my leave now. I have some matters to attend to, Hu Zhang said, leaving those words and departing with the elders. With Hu Zhang and the elders gone, Hu Wen, Fang Xue, and Li Chang returned to eating in silence until Hu Wen abruptly turned to Fang Xue. Big sister, what do you think of big brother Ji Yu? Hu Wen asked, causing Fang Xue to choke on her food at this unexpected question. Cough, Ji Yu Ning? He's just a person you can't trust, Fang Xue replied coldly and mercilessly, shocking Hu Wen. Why does elder sister think that? Hu Wen asked somewhat incredulously, as Ji Yu Ning gave off the impression of a gentle knight. You wouldn't understand. Fang Xue shook her head and went back to eating, not wanting to discuss the matter further. Hu Wen pouted at Fang Xue's response and also resumed eating. Why did you do that? Li Chang curiously asked Fang Xue through their connection. It's simple. By giving a vague answer and not explaining further, Hu Wen herself will start looking for Ji Yu Ning's faults. As the saying goes, who seeks, finds. The same principle applies here. Hu Wen will believe what she discovers, Fang Xue calmly explained her reasoning for the answer. Li Chang let out a surprised response, holy cow, those few words carry a lot of meaning. Even though you are a goddess, you don't have such deep and intriguing thoughts, Fang Xue replied somewhat strangely, gently looking at Li Chang, as if she were observing a not too intelligent child. Li Chang, noticing Fang Xue's gaze, snorted and puffed out her cheeks in rage, but as a bunny, it only resulted in a funny and cute scene. Li Chang truly wasn't the most brilliant mind when it came to profound plans. After all, she always relied on sheer brute strength to overcome obstacles. Seeing Li Chang's angry expression, Fang Xue let out a light laugh, causing another snort of anger from Li Chang. I'm just kidding. I'll explain it to you better. I can't just accuse Ji Yu Ning of something, but Hu Wen herself has to find fault with Ji Yu Ning. With my words, I planted a seed of curiosity about Ji Yu Ning in her heart. Fang Xue patiently explained the reason behind her answer to Hu Wen. Li Chang simply responded with an, okay, and went back to eating in silence, still a bit angry. Fang Xue didn't pay much attention to it and waited for Li Chang and Hu Wen to finish eating. After a few minutes, Fang Xue noticed that the two had finished eating. Little Wen, could you take me to the training camps? I want to start training now, Fang Xue asked Hu Wen, who simply nodded. Hu Wen was still thinking about Fang Xue's words. Although she had only seen Ji Yu Ning once, he left the impression of a hero, just like the characters in stories, handsome, brave, virtuous, and strong. Fang Xue now stood in front of a massive mountain, located a few minutes' walk from her courtyard. Is this where the training site is? Fang Xue asked, feeling a bit puzzled, as all she could see was a vast mountain. Yes, it's inside that mountain, Hu Wen replied, walking towards a part of the mountain as if it didn't exist. Fang Xue was amazed by this sight. When she thought Hu Wen was going to collide head-on with the mountain, she simply passed through it. Truly a wonderful and mysterious world, Fang Xue thought as she witnessed this scene. She then followed Hu Wen's lead and crossed the mountain as if it didn't exist. After crossing the mountain, Fang Xue found herself in a new environment. A large space with different areas. Some were open and visible from the outside, while others were pagodas whose purpose she couldn't discern. Come, I'll explain everything to you. Fang Xue heard Hu Wen's voice coming from her left side. Nodding her head, Fang Xue saw Hu Wen walk into an open space where several youths of different ages and cultivation levels were engaged in combat. This is the sparring field. Here, you can spar with others and gain more experience by fighting different people, Hu Wen said, pointing to the youths engaged in combat. That's good. I still lack a lot of fighting experience, Fang Xue thought, nodding in agreement. Hu Wen then led her to another open field, where fewer people were present, and those who were there had sweat on their faces. This is also a sparring field, but here, stronger gravity is applied. Those who fight here experience the pressure of gravity, Hu Wen explained, pointing to two young men who were fighting, their movements slow as each punch required considerable effort. Fang Xue marveled at this sparring field. In addition to gaining combat experience, it provided an opportunity to temper the body. Hu Wen continued walking and directed Fang Xue's attention to a 3-story pagoda. This pagoda contains an illusory matrix. Once you enter, you will be transported to different environments where you will face human cultivators, demonic beasts, and even demons. However, everything is an illusion, although the pain you feel is real, Hu Wen explained. The first floor is intended for body training level cultivators, the second floor for Qi Sense realm cultivators, and the top floor for opening meridian cultivators, she added with pride in her voice, as the pagoda was discovered by her ancestor in the past. Fang Xue looked at the pagoda with burning passion. While sparring provided combat experience, it lacked the intensity of real-life battles where one could fight to kill. This pagoda offered a magnificent opportunity, and as for the pain, Fang Xue had no fear. It seems like you liked it, but be careful. Dying in there doesn't mean real death, but it's still not a pleasant experience, Hu Wen warned. Some geniuses in the past were traumatized after dying in the illusion, although she had never experienced it herself. Fang Xue nodded, not paying much attention to the warning. After all, she had already died twice, so death didn't scare her. After acknowledging Fang Xue's response, Hu Wen led her to the second-to-last building, a 3-story structure that resembled a library. These are some miscellaneous books of our Hu family. The first floor contains topics like history and geography. The second floor contains martial arts techniques aimed at body training cultivators, and the third floor holds martial skills for Qi Sense realm cultivators, Hu Wen briefly explained. The true library of the Hu family was hidden elsewhere and heavily guarded. Fang Xue nodded, showing some interest, as she had very little knowledge about these subjects. Hu Wen then guided her towards the final and most important building, a 9-story pagoda. Now it gets a little more interesting, Li Chang finally spoke up after remaining silent for a while. What do you mean? Fang Xue asked, intrigued by the significance of this pagoda. Let that little girl explain, Li Chang replied mysteriously. As Hu Wen and Fang Xue stood before the pagoda, Hu Wen's expression turned solemn. Besides our room of treasures and martial library, this is the most important thing we have, Hu Wen said gravely, further piquing Fang Xue's curiosity. What do you mean? Fang Xue asked, eager to understand the special nature of this pagoda. This pagoda was built atop a spiritual vein. The spiritual energy, or qi, here is many times greater than anywhere else. Each floor of this pagoda contains 11 rooms, and the lower the room, the closer it is to the spiritual vein. As a result, these rooms have more qi, and the qi is purer, enabling cultivators to increase their cultivation speed, Hu Wen explained slowly, emphasizing the pagoda's unique properties. Arrogant challenge and Yuan Tengfi. A spiritual vein, Fang Xue exclaimed in her thoughts. After all, she knew the significance of possessing a spiritual vein. Possessing or not having a spiritual vein was a defining factor in classifying families, clans, empires, and sects. Aside from having the strongest cultivator present, possessing a spiritual vein greatly increased a family's rank. It provided a higher chance of producing a genius and nurturing them through the spiritual vein, which in turn increased the family's status. Isn't the Hu family afraid of giving the opportunity for several subordinate powers geniuses to rise in cultivation and potentially turn against them? Fang Xue curiously asked. Allowing a non-family genius to grow up seemed quite risky. No, in order to continue cultivation, a high-level cultivation method is needed. These subordinate families don't possess it, so they swear an oath never to betray our family in exchange for access to the cultivation methods. We release the cultivation methods to these young geniuses, Hu Wen replied, showing no concern for Fang Xue's hypothesis. Fang Xue simply nodded, already thinking about her training routine. But before that, she needed to clarify a few things. Thank you very much. I just have 2 questions. First, how does the room system work in this pagoda? And on the way here, I heard someone talking about points. What are they? Fang Xue inquired, seeking answers before she could begin her training. To acquire a room in the cultivation pagoda, you must have the strength to claim it. It means you fight for the right to occupy a room, and once you have it, you can only spend 1 week cultivating. After that, you have to fight again to retain ownership of the room. And those points are contribution points. They can be exchanged for pills, herbs, armor, and weapons in the exchange hall. To earn contribution points, You must complete missions from the mission hall. When you complete a mission, you will earn points, Hu Wen explained, concluding her explanation. Fang Xue listened attentively and nodded in understanding. I understand. Then, I'm going to say goodbye. I want to start cultivating as soon as possible. Fang Xue bid farewell to Hu Wen and headed towards the sparring ground. First, I'll have some sparring sessions, then I'll move to the sparring field with stronger gravity. After that, I'll visit the library to read a little and rest. Once I'm recovered, I'll proceed to the illusion matrix and then to the cultivation pagoda. Fang Xue planned her training routine, prioritizing her weaknesses. Her main flaw was her lack of combat experience, followed by her limited knowledge of this world and the cultivation pagoda. Even though she couldn't use qi in body training, Fang Xue could still utilize the abundant qi to put more pressure on her body and make it stronger, using the chaotic stars formula. When Fang Xue entered the sparring field, many people looked at her curiously. However, those who had witnessed her defeat Sha Chao and his equipment trembled slightly. Who is she? Someone asked aloud. Don't you know? She's the one who defeated someone at the 7th level of body training while being at the 5th level. Another person exclaimed, sparking whispers among the crowd. HMPF, that's just excessive. A 14-year-old youth with short blonde hair and an arrogant face stood out from the crowd and confronted Fang Xue. I don't know who spread this baseless rumor, but I challenge you now, the young man shouted, pointing at Fang Xue. Fang Xue glanced at the young man. Realizing he was only at the 7th level of body training, she completely ignored him. Feeling offended by Fang Xue's disregard, the 14-year-old named Hao Yang attacked her with full force. Fang Xue noticed the attack and sighed, swiftly delivering a strong slap to the young man's face. He didn't even have time to react as he was sent flying several meters away. Blood and teeth scattered, and the crowd, who had never witnessed Fang Xue's abilities, were stunned by both her effortless defeat of Hao Yang and the brutality of the scene. Damn, she's only at the 6th level of body training, but she defeated Hao Yang so easily, even when he attacked by surprise. Someone from the crowd exclaimed. That's because you guys weren't there for the fight earlier. This girl easily emasculated Sha Chao, an 8th level body training cultivator. Another cultivator spoke loudly, his voice trembling as he recalled the scene. A hush fell over the sparring field. Even some Qi Sense Realm half-step cultivators fell silent, realizing they couldn't match Fang Xue at the same level. An oppressive aura enveloped the sparring field as Fang Xue's words echoed. HMPF, arrogant words. An 8th level body training cultivator snorted loudly and stepped forward from the crowd. He stood at 191 centimeters tall, possessed a robust body, and held a long silver spear in his hand. His name was Yuan Tengfi, and he was quite famous in the Hu family. Fang Xue and Yuan Tengfi stood 5 meters apart, staring intently at each other without uttering a word. It seemed they would engage in a fight at any moment. Finally, someone worthy, Fang Xue thought after analyzing Yuan Tengfi. The aura he exuded was unlike Sha Chao's, who was hailed as the strongest 8th level cultivator. Yuan Tengfi was undoubtedly stronger than Sha Chao. I was told that Sha Chao was the strongest 8th level body training cultivator, but you defeated him easily. Fang Xue voiced her doubts. I recently reached the 8th level, and I didn't display my true strength. Sha Chao merely had a lucky breakthrough and claimed to be the strongest at the 8th level. There are others at the 8th level who are stronger than him, but they don't want to waste their time on something so trivial. Yuan Tengfi responded slowly, his disdain for Sha Chao evident. Hu Wen really misinformed me. Fang Xue sighed lightly, realizing Hu Wen had mentioned Sha Chao as the strongest 8th rank cultivator. Achoo! Hu Wen sneezed loudly as she watered the flowers in her courtyard garden. Did I catch a cold? Hu Wen wondered, lightly scratching her nose. Learning in the Asura's instinct. At the training grounds situated on a mountain, the climate was not much different from outside. The sun shone and the wind blew over everyone. However, the air at the sparring field was cold, as if it were night. The crowd maintained a deep silence, holding their breath as they awaited the start of the confrontation between Fang Xue and Yuan Tengfi. Only the sound of the wind shaking a few trees could be heard. While Fang Xue evaluated her opponent, Yuan Tengfi did the same. He was surprised to realize that Fang Xue, a girl at the 6th level of body training, was so dangerous. After all, he was an 8th level cultivator himself. After a few seconds of visual confrontation, Fang Xue gave a confident and excited smile, though it was hidden behind the veil covering her face. Realizing this, Yuan Tengfi's determination for the upcoming duel increased, knowing it would be an intense fight, and he might even lose.
The silent crowd witnessed the rabbit in Fang Xue's arms jumping to the ground, and in the blink of an eye, Fang Xue herself disappeared. Yuan Tengfei, who was focused on Fang Xue, tightly gripped his silver spear with both hands, preparing for the confrontation.
Pung! The sound of metal colliding with metal echoed through the sparring field. The tip of the spear collided with Fang Xue's sword blade, and sparks flew in all directions, briefly illuminating the surprised faces of the spectators. Fang Xue staggered back a few steps but quickly regained her balance. She was excited to have finally found a worthy opponent. Yuan Tengfi, on the other hand, felt a chill run down his spine. He realized he had underestimated Fang Xue and knew he would have to give his all to win. Yuan Tengfi wielded his spear again and ran towards Fang Xue, attacking quickly and accurately. However, Fang Xue, even though less skilled, managed to dodge the fast and accurate strikes and tried to counterattack with agility. The fight intensified, with the two opponents alternating between attack and defense. Fang Xue skillfully evaded Yuan Tengfi's attacks and countered with precise and elegant strikes. With each attack, it became evident that Fang Xue was slowly improving. Yuan Tengfi attempted to strike Fang Xue with his spear, but she was so fast that she managed to avoid his strikes. The astonished crowd watched the scene before them, unable to look away from the battle between the two cultivators. It was rare to see a 6th-level cultivator challenging an opponent 2 levels above, and Fang Xue was proving herself to be a true heroine at that moment. In addition, Fang Xue's hanfu and loose sleeves swayed with every movement, mesmerizing the spectators even more. The 9 red petal lotuses on her body emitted a feeling of danger every second, like a rose beautiful yet deadly. Finally, after a few minutes of intense fighting, Fang Xue managed to disarm Yuan Tengfi with a quick and precise strike. The crowd erupted in applause as Fang Xue breathed heavily. That had not been an easy fight. On the contrary, Fang Xue had given her all. Every part of her body worked at 100, her brain analyzed everything at high speed, and plans and strategies were created and discarded in seconds. Fang Xue fought with all her heart and soul, eager to learn as much as she could. Even her Asura lineage helped in this process. During the fight, Fang Xue could feel her Asura lineage circulating on its own, not to activate or give her an increase in strength, but to aid her in learning. In the midst of the battle, Fang Xue sensed the best moments to strike, as if it were an instinct engraved in the deepest part of her DNA, another gift from her Asura lineage. It was as Li Chang had said before. Asuras were a race that possessed a battle prowess that defied logic, and this sense of fighting was also ingrained in Fang Xue's DNA. This sparring session clarified a lot about Fang Xue's fighting style. She felt like something was missing, delivering quick and precise sword strikes. Alone wasn't enough. However, this was just a feeling. Fang Xue knew she had much to improve in her fighting style, but she didn't have all the answers to her questions.
Fang Xue would have to fight more and explore her potential even further.
Snapping out of her thoughts, Fang Xue looked at Yuan Tengfi lying on the ground with a calm and indifferent expression, as if nothing had happened. She turned around and walked toward the exit of the sparring field, leaving behind the excited crowd. However, before she could take more than 2 steps, something grabbed her ankle and pulled her back. Fang Xue fell to the ground, surprised and disoriented. Fang Xue looked back and saw Yuan Tengfi struggling to get up, his eyes filled with fury. "You think you can beat me and just walk away so easily?" shouted Yuan Tengfi, his fists clenched in anger. Fang Xue stared at him with her cold and calculating eyes. She slowly got up, maintaining an upright and confident posture despite her exhaustion. "You are the strongest opponent I've ever faced. I gained a lot from this fight and need to assimilate what I've learned. If you want, we can fight again another day. But I'll warn you, next time, I'll win even more easily than today. And if you cling to that useless pride, you'll never be a worthy opponent again," said Fang Xue, coldly and slowly, before turning around and walking toward the library. Stunned, Yuan Tengfi watched Fang Xue walk away, pondering the words she had left. He knew he needed to train more and better prepare himself. He never wanted to feel the shame of being defeated by someone who, at first glance, seemed inferior to him. A new determination grew inside Yuan Tengfi, along with an admiration for Fang Xue, a true genius. He recognized that his pride was useless and he lacked the strength to sustain it. The battle between Fang Xue and Yuan Tengfi left a lasting impression on everyone present that day. It served as a reminder that strength isn't always related to cultivation level but rather to skill, strategy, and determination. Fang Xue showed she possessed these qualities in abundance. While the crowd and Yuan Tengfi were lost in their thoughts, a rabbit with a proud and arrogant expression hopped quickly towards Fang Xue, making everyone look at the small animal strangely. "Damn brat, how dare you leave me behind," cursed Li Chang in her heart, despite displaying a proud and arrogant expression on the outside. Moment of weakness and evolution of the Asura bloodline. When Fang Xue and the bouncing rabbit disappeared from the view of the cultivators, the crowd began to disperse, but the fight would be a topic discussed for many days within the Hu family. Fang Xue finally arrived at a hidden corner and checked if anyone was nearby. When she was sure she was alone, she couldn't hold back the pain anymore and spat out blood. Despite her internal organs being stronger than any 8th level body tempering cultivator, Fang Xue still suffered some internal damage from that fight. "I was too arrogant," Fang Xue sighed mentally, aware that she had underestimated her opponent and paid the price for it. Fang Xue had thought she could easily win against any 8th level body tempering cultivator, but reality had hit her in the face. Fang Xue knew she could have won easily if she had used her Asura lineage and star power, but since it was just a sparring match, there was no need to take things so far. Fang Xue also realized her lack of fighting experience and the need to improve her skills for future battles. She knew that even with her brute strength, she could not defeat a 9th level body tempering opponent, and that she needed to learn to use her powers with wisdom and strategy. "How arrogant of me! Even if I used my Asura lineage and star power, my chances of winning against a 9th level body tempering cultivator would be at most 50, and only for a few seconds," Fang Xue thought aloud, feeling a little ashamed of herself, remembering the way she had said those arrogant words of challenge. Arrogance and self-confidence, only a thin line separates the two. You have to be careful that self-confidence does not turn into arrogance and blind your mind. Suddenly, Li Chang's voice sounded behind Fang Xue. Fang Xue didn't turn around because she didn't want to face Li Chang now. She felt a deep sense of shame, especially after remembering the words she had said. "All this time, I was just a clown," Fang Xue thought, mocking herself. Before she could continue her thoughts, Li Chang spoke. "I don't know what your life was like before, both on Earth and in your past in this world. I only know the Fang Xue of now, determined and full of spirit, ready to endure any pain and challenge to complete her revenge. The Fang Xue who doesn't even blink in the face of the possibility of true death, without the right to reincarnation. The Fang Xue who confidently said that she would overcome everything and everyone, even in existence outside this universe. But now, I don't see any of that, and there's nothing wrong with it. Many cultivators become arrogant after a small increase in power. And even when they see that they are weaker than expected, instead of accepting that fact and facing reality, they prefer to live in their own little world of arrogance. In the past, you couldn't cultivate, but now you have the opportunity to rise to a level never seen before. It's normal to be carried away by feelings and emotions, but you can't lose control of those feelings and emotions. Soon, you will be better than many cultivators. You can see your own mistakes, try to seek improvements, and face reality as it is. I don't know how long you lived in your past life, but you couldn't have been older than 30. 30 years. In front of me, you are nothing but a fetus in your mother's womb, and you're already thinking that a small, silly mistake is a reason to be ashamed? I have lived for millions of years and have made more mistakes than I can remember, but I have learned from each small and big mistake to ultimately get to where I am now. Although we don't have a destiny, I can't help but think that destiny brought us together. I never doubted your previous words and promises. In fact, I trusted you more than you trusted yourself. Now, lift your head and learn from your mistakes. You don't have to be strong all the time. Whenever you feel weak, I'll be by your side. But if you get lost in your weakness, I will kill both of us. I would rather die forever than see you sink without fighting." Li Chang said those words from the bottom of her heart. Li Chang knew that pretty words would sound false and wouldn't help at all. She had to make Fang Xue stand up on her own. And the best way would be to say everything she, Li Chang, thought in her heart. After hearing Li Chang's words, 2 tears ran down Fang Xue's face. Only Fang Xue knew how frightened she was in this new world. Despite trusting Li Chang, Fang Xue didn't want to show any weakness in front of her. This attitude was due to her past traumas. On Earth, Fang Xue had always been practically alone, having to rely only on herself. When she entered the business world, she knew that if she showed any weakness, she would be devoured to the bone. During her life in this world, her parents were persecuted for 10 years. Because of her, even after all the fighting, they ended up dying, and Fang Xue always felt that everything was her fault, having no right to complain about anything. Even though she knew she wasn't alone and could count on Li Chang, her subconscious wouldn't allow her to show any fragility. After all, Li Chang was an ancient and powerful goddess, and Fang Xue didn't want to lose her by being seen as weak and insecure. After hearing Li Chang's words, all past traumas and nightmares were swept away from her heart, leaving her feeling lighter. I can finally trust someone, Fang Xue thought, moved and happy to have someone who would be by her side in every moment, even when she was weak. When Fang Xue came to this conclusion, a dark crimson light began to shine around her, but she didn't notice it. Only Li Chang noticed the light. The Asura lineage was evolving completely. Suppressing evolution and tricked by the gentle elder. We can't let anyone see this, said Li Chang, concerned about exposing Fang Xue's Asura lineage. Although no one in the mortal world knew about the Asuras, Li Chang could not afford to expose something as powerful and unique as Fang Xue's Asura lineage. Anyone who felt the strength and singularity of her blood would inevitably be tempted by greed, especially among other cultivators. Little Xue, try temporarily suppressing the evolution of your lineage, advised Li Chang. At first, Fang Xue didn't understand what Li Chang meant, but she soon felt the frenzied circulation of her lineage within her body. Fang Xue closed her eyes and felt her lineage circulating throughout her body. The remaining golden light transformed into a dark crimson color. Her heart shone brightly as it pumped the dark crimson blood. Something was changing, but Fang Xue couldn't discern what it was. Excruciating pain surged through Fang Xue's entire body as she desperately tried to suppress the evolution of her Asura lineage. Cold sweat ran down her face, her skin felt like it was on fire, and her mind was in turmoil. Li Chang anxiously and worriedly watched Fang Xue, but there was nothing she could do to help. She could feel the power pulsating within Fang Xue, an intensity that seemed ready to explode. Fang Xue focused on her breathing and tried to calm her mind. She knew she needed to hold back the evolution of her lineage long enough to reach the cultivation pagoda, where she could safely undergo the evolution. The pain continued to intensify, as if she were being torn apart, but Fang Xue refused to give up. She understood that the Asura lineage was both a blessing and a curse, and she couldn't afford to let it be discovered by others. Finally, after an intense struggle, Fang Xue managed to suppress the evolution of her lineage for a short period of time. She opened her eyes, feeling exhausted but relieved to have succeeded. Let's go, Fang Xue said softly to Li Chang, picking her up in her arms and looking tenderly at the small rabbit. We don't have much time. With Li Chang in her arms, Fang Xue began to make her way towards the cultivation pagoda, where she would find a slightly safer place to continue the evolution of her lineage. Li Chang felt shy and happy under Fang Xue's gaze. Her feelings for Fang Xue only grew stronger. I am deeply grateful for your comforting words. It's true that I shouldn't blame myself for a trivial mistake, and I have learned that I don't have to face everything alone. However, my revenge and my goals remain of utmost importance to me. I will do whatever it takes to achieve them, but now I have your friendship to accompany me on this arduous journey. I am still a proud and cold person, but I have learned that I don't have to be strong all the time and that I can count on you as my partner. My determination is stronger than ever, and I won't let my self-confidence or arrogance hinder me from achieving my goals. Fang Xue sincerely thanked Li Chang through their oath connection. Li Chang listened in silence and felt even shyer and happier in her heart. Since she met Fang Xue, Li Chang sensed that Fang Xue trusted her, but she also felt a certain distance between them. Li Chang understood that Fang Xue maintained a strong facade, and she refrained from commenting on it, knowing that forcing anything would not be beneficial. Li Chang sighed melancholically, and acknowledged that she, too, was holding on to some things in her heart. Carrying traumas and insecurities for millions of years, it would naturally be more difficult for her to resolve them. In the end, she made a vow in her heart that she would fully open up to Fang Xue in the future. Walking in silence, Fang Xue and Li Chang passed by several cultivators, who whispered as they looked at them. Fang Xue's fight with Yuan Tengfi had become known throughout the Hu family, and many were discussing the extraordinary cultivator who could overcome cultivation levels and emerge victorious. Fang Xue ignored the stares and whispers and soon arrived in front of the cultivation pagoda. She gazed at the 9 floors of the pagoda, determined, and entered. Inside the pagoda's first floor, Fang Xue found a spacious area without any decorations. 11 rooms were arranged side by side, each with a number above the door, ranging from 1 to 11. Besides the size of the first floor, Fang Xue sensed that the qi within this space was more potent than that of her cultivation room in the courtyard. However, cultivation was only permitted inside the designated rooms, and Fang Xue regretted not being able to harness the full power of the qi in this space. As Fang Xue made her way through the pagoda, a soft and gentle voice sounded beside her, surprising her. It was the third elder Hu, still wearing a gentle smile on his face. Fang Xue, greetings to the third elder, Fang Xue greeted, clasping her fists in a sign of respect. No need for formalities. If you wish to cultivate, go to room 70. A cultivator at the 7th level of body tempering will be leaving soon, and the other rooms below will be occupied for several more days, the elder said, getting straight to the point. Fang Xue was taken aback by the elder's straightforwardness, but she quickly thanked him and headed towards the indicated room. However, as Fang Xue turned around, the third elder Hu's gentle smile transformed into a cunning grin, akin to that of a fox. Oh dear. I forgot to mention that Tian Chen may have advanced to the 8th level of body tempering, but it shouldn't pose a problem for her, the elder thought, giving a mischievous laugh before departing from the pagoda. The third elder Hu wanted to test Fang Xue by pitting her against a cultivator at the 8th level of body tempering while she was still recovering from her injuries, perhaps coaxing her to reveal some hidden strength. In truth, the third elder Hu was aware that Fang Xue was not in the best physical condition, though he couldn't sense her Asura lineage. Nonetheless, he wanted to push Fang Xue to reveal more of herself. Arriving in front of room 70, Fang Xue saw a group of people waiting for the cultivator to exit. As she approached, she attracted many gazes, some filled with fear, others with admiration and curiosity. Hey, who's that beauty holding a rabbit? She's only at the 6th level of body tempering and came here? Someone mocked Fang Xue's cultivation level, but their friend quickly covered their mouth. Watch your words. That girl's name is Fang Xue, and despite being at the 6th level of body tempering, she has already emasculated Sha Chao and defeated Yuan Tengfi. Another cultivator spoke solemnly. Yuan Tengfi? He's ranked 5th among the cultivators at the 8th level, exclaimed the previously mocking cultivator, now astonished. Fang Xue overheard the conversation and felt helpless, knowing that Hu Wen had provided her with incorrect information about Sha Chao being the strongest cultivator at the 8th level. However, she couldn't blame Hu Wen, who had simply relayed what he had heard, and Sha Chao had proclaimed himself as the strongest. Within the Hu family, a ranking of the strongest cultivators at each level was widely known, and Yuan Tengfi held the 5th position among the cultivators at the 8th level of body tempering. I faced immense difficulty against Yuan Tengfi. I can't fathom the strength of the first-ranked cultivator, Fang Xue thought. Excitement growing at the prospect of facing even stronger opponents than Yuan Tengfi. I hope the person in that room doesn't take too long. I won't be able to suppress the evolution of my lineage for more than an hour, Fang Xue impatiently thought, feeling a tinge of anger and swearing to thoroughly defeat the person inside the room. One punch and after the Asura bloodline evolution. After waiting for 15 minutes, a creaking sound was heard, and Fang Xue turned her attention to door number 70. A young man with long brown hair and blue eyes emerged, wearing an arrogant expression on his face. Look, it's Tian Chen. His aura has become stronger. He's probably advanced to the 8th level of body tempering. Someone in the crowd exclaimed, feeling a bit helpless. With Tian Chen reaching the 8th level, the chances of anyone else obtaining the room had diminished to 0. I just advanced, but I would like to continue using this room, I hope. Everyone can understand, Tian Chen said, attempting to appear friendly, but the arrogance in his tone and expression couldn't be concealed. Damn, how arrogant, but no one here has the strength to defeat him, a cultivator lamented. At that moment, Fang Xue, holding a rabbit, stood out from the crowd and spoke coldly, with a hint of impatience in her tone. Hold on, you bastard. You made me wait 15 minutes just to see your ugly face. Come back here, so I can teach you some manners. She had initially thought she could suppress the evolution of her lineage for an hour, but in reality, she only had 30 minutes. The pain started to return, pushing Fang Xue's patience to its limit. As Fang Xue observed Tian Chen's arrogant expression, her patience went out the window, and she decided to vent her frustrations. She planned to defeat Tian Chen until his mother wouldn't recognize him anymore, starting with her words. Despite her anger, Fang Xue maintained a cool head. When she sensed Tian Chen's aura, she realized he was on par with Sha Chao, meaning she could easily defeat him. Tian Chen was stunned by Fang Xue's words, but soon, his surprise turned into anger. After all, he was being ridiculed by a girl at the 6th level of body tempering. What did you say? Even though you're a girl at the 6th level of body tempering, I won't go easy on you, Tian Chen said in a dark tone and threw a hard punch at Fang Xue's face. Upon witnessing this, Fang Xue's gray eyes quickly turned a shade of red, and her smile grew cruel. Li Chang was the only one who noticed this change in Fang Xue. The Asura lineage is affecting her emotional state, Li Chang thought with concern and pity, worried that the Asura lineage could influence Fang Xue's mind. Simultaneously, she pitied Tian Chen for irritating someone he shouldn't have. Fang Xue felt her arms become free, and she clenched her right fist, delivering a powerful punch towards Tian Chen's fist. The impact of Fang Xue's punch created a sound of air being broken, with air currents swirling around her fist. Tian Chen sensed these changes and a tinge of fear flashed in his eyes. However, before he could react further, his fist collided with Fang Xue's. Crack! The unpleasant sound of bones breaking echoed through the air, and Tian Chen was sent flying into the wall of the pagoda. Surprisingly, the wall remained intact, showcasing its resilience. As the crowd witnessed Tian Chen's state, a chill ran down their spines. Tian Chen's arm had an impossible angle, with some bones protruding and blood continuously flowing from the wound. Even Fang Xue was slightly shocked by the strength of her punch. Although she could defeat Tian Chen without using her full strength, the brutality of the outcome was unexpected. Fang Xue quickly concluded that when she unleashed the power of her Asura lineage during the punch, it amplified her strength. Releasing some of that energy made her feel lighter and less pained. However, there was no time to dwell on it. Fang Xue was in a hurry and swiftly entered the cultivation room, followed by Li Chang. Only when the door closed with a loud sound did the crowd snap out of their shock. "Wow, what just happened?" exclaimed a cultivator, surprised and filled with admiration. Women were often regarded as physically weaker, but Fang Xue completely shattered that perception. The entire crowd remained somewhat stunned by the swift turn of events. One moment, Tian Chen proudly displayed his 8th level of body tempering cultivation, and the next moment, he was lying on the floor, screaming in pain with a broken arm. Even the 3rd elder who observed the fight with his divine sense, was shocked. He never expected Fang Xue to defeat Tian Chen so easily and mysteriously. The 3rd elder who pondered the energy released during the collision of their fists, wondering if it was a martial art technique. Although the crowd didn't sense anything, he felt an unusual explosive energy emanating from Fang Xue's body and merging with Tian Chen's arm. It's intriguing, but it may not be as useful in other cultivation realms. The 3rd elder Hu thought, putting the matter aside and leaving. He didn't gather much information about Fang Xue's hidden strengths. While the cultivators outside the room and the 3rd elder were astonished, Fang Xue sat on the zafu at the room center. "This room contains at least 3 times more qi than the cultivation room in my courtyard," Fang Xue exclaimed excitedly. Even though she couldn't utilize qi directly, a typical body tempering cultivator would absorb the ambient qi to temper their body and increase its strength. Before your lineage evolves, all imprint a basic formation to prevent any energy leakage, Li Chang stated before closing her eyes. She transformed the qi in the room into intricate symbols that adhered to the walls. As the symbols covered all the walls, they faintly glowed before vanishing, as if they had never been there. "What did you do?" Fang Xue inquired, her eyes filled with curiosity as she looked at the now seemingly ordinary walls. "I used the power of the soul in conjunction with the surrounding qi to create a formation," Li Chang proudly replied, though her voice betrayed a hint of exhaustion. "Are you okay?" Fang Xue asked, noticing Li Chang's condition and expressing concern. "It's nothing. I'm just not used to doing this anymore," Li Chang responded. settling herself comfortably in a corner of the room. You can evolve your lineage without worry, Li Chang reassured Fang Xue before lying down and making herself comfortable. Fang Xue nodded and allowed her lineage to circulate freely within her body. As the lineage coursed through her, a dark crimson light began to radiate intensely, further activating the lineage. Gradually, a nine-petaled red lotus took form on her forehead, attracting all the qi in the room toward it. The lotus absorbed the qi like a sponge, becoming more tangible and intensifying the light around Fang Xue. After an hour of continuous absorption, the lotus ceased drawing in qi and slowly dissipated. The light around Fang Xue returned to her body, and she was once again seen sitting in the lotus position. Externally, nothing appeared to have changed, except for a small, vertical, red mark between Fang Xue's eyebrows, the only visible evidence of her transformation. Internally, however, numerous changes had taken place during the hour of qi absorption. Firstly, Fang Xue's heart had transformed into something resembling a pulsating red crystal, generating a new and peculiar invisible energy. Her bones had become light red, more resilient, and capable of withstanding even greater impact. Her muscles had grown stronger and more compact, enabling her to unleash an even more explosive force. Furthermore, her internal organs and nerves had also benefited, becoming more resilient and efficient in their functions. Her meridians, which had previously been half black and white, now had streaks of red running through them. These changes didn't cause any pain for Fang Xue. On the contrary, she felt more complete and stronger than before. Li Chang wasn't surprised when she assessed Fang Xue's condition and realized she had reached the 7th level of body tempering, advancing a level after evolving such a unique lineage as the Asura lineage was only natural. However, a change occurred within Fang Xue. The strange energy in her heart began to stir, and she experienced a slight pain in her soul, as if something were undergoing a transformation. Suddenly, she found herself once again inside her soul, where the souls of her two lives merged. Now, the dark and white sides were divided by a red line, and a red star shone in the sky of her soul. As the star's light fell upon Fang Xue's translucent representation, words formed in her mind, coalescing into a book titled, Asura Heavenly Sutra. Information about the Asura Heavenly Sutra and Celestial Star of Massacre. After reading the book's title, Fang Xue felt a strange sensation in her heart. She couldn't explain it, but she knew that something significant and powerful lay before her. Her consciousness returned to the real world, and she found herself sitting in a lotus position. Slowly, she opened her eyes and met a pair of small, purple eyes looking at her with concern. "You finally woke up," Li Chang exclaimed happily, jumping into Fang Xue's lap and burying her head in her belly. Fang Xue felt a warm sensation in her heart and stroked Li Chang's head. "Why were you so worried? You've been sitting in that position for 3 days, besides, there was a strange pressure surrounding you, and I didn't dare approach you," Li Chang replied with a hurt tone and a hint of fear regarding the pressure surrounding Fang Xue. Its significance. Li Chang explained that this must have been an Asura cultivation method, which she received as an inheritance after completing the evolution of her lineage. Li Chang was excited and curious to learn about something related to such an ancient and unique race as the Asuras. Don't get too excited. This book has 3 volumes, and each volume has 3 chapters. But even the first chapter of the first volume is too profound for me to understand. I believe I can only begin to comprehend it when I enter the Meridian Opening Realm, said Fang Xue, feeling a little helpless. Li Chang snapped out of her daydreams and was shocked by what Fang Xue said. According to the books she had read about the inheritance, the Asuras could only cultivate a single technique called combat tactics Asura. They couldn't cultivate any other kind of cultivation method. Combat tactics Asura? Isn't that the title of the book I received? The book in my memories is called Asura Heavenly Sutra, Fang Xue said, shaking her head in denial. When Li Chang heard Fang Xue's words, she trembled slightly and looked at Fang Xue in shock. Asura Heavenly Sutra? Are you sure? In that same book, it was said that the Asuras were in search of their god's cultivation method, their creator. And that method was called the Asura Heavenly Sutra. Not only that, it was said that the god of the Asura race managed to surpass even the heavens and transcend this universe. Fang Xue was stunned by Li Chang's revelation about a method that would allow her to match or even surpass the heavens. She would finally have something to rely on to make her revenge and help Li Chang a reality. Although she was aware that the road ahead would be arduous and cruel, Fang Xue felt immensely happy to find a real possibility of achieving her goals. She would cling to this possibility with unshakable determination, willing to face any obstacle that arose in her path. This is indeed a joyful revelation, but let's take it one step at a time and focus on reaching the Qi Sense realm first, rather than getting ahead of ourselves. Fang Xue regained her composure and decided to concentrate on the present. She didn't want to get too excited about the future and forget the importance of the present. You're right. Now, tell me, what other changes have you felt after the evolution of your lineage? Li Chang agreed with Fang Xue and asked about the other changes that occurred after the lineage evolution. Fang Xue recounted the internal changes that took place within her and mentioned the changes in her soul realm. A red star? Li Chang listened attentively and was most intrigued by the red star in Fang Xue's soul realm. Yes, what's special about it? Fang Xue realized that the red star had caught Li Chang's attention the most and was curious to know why. Try circulating the chaotic star's formula. Li Chang excitedly requested Fang Xue and took a step back. Fang Xue nodded, already knowing what Li Chang wanted to confirm. She closed her eyes and did as she was asked. When Fang Xue circulated the chaotic star's formula, the starlight, once white, turned into a deep crimson and emanated a bloody aura. Celestial Star of Massacre. Fang Xue murmured the words that came to her mind as the starlight fell upon her body. However, Fang Xue didn't feel any specific changes, except for the increased pressure, which was natural since she had now reached the 7th level of body training. Unexpectedly, the strange energy in her heart, which Fang Xue decided to call Asura energy, began to interact with the starlight, further tempering her body. But the surprises weren't over for Fang Xue yet. While marveling at her new discovery, a violent tremor shook her entire body. She quickly realized that the tremor wasn't external but within her soul. With a serious expression, Fang Xue focused her attention on the energy within her body. She soon discovered that the fusion of star power and Asura energy was creating a new energy, with the point of fusion being the red vertical mark between her eyebrows. After a few minutes, Fang Xue interrupted her meditation, realizing that the mark between her eyebrows no longer absorbed starlight. Upon opening her eyes, Fang Xue couldn't contain her laughter, as she now understood the significance of this new energy. The vertical red mark between her eyebrows could now store starlight and transform it into star power, the same power that Fang Xue could only store in small amounts within her body. Moreover, the mixture of star power with Asura energy created a new form of energy that Fang Xue decided to call Asura star power. Asura star power served the same purpose as star power, dramatically increasing Fang Xue's strength while she had star power available. However, the crucial difference was that Fang Xue could now store Asura star power in much larger quantities in the mark between her eyebrows, even without creating an inner star. Furthermore, when using Asura star power, Fang Xue's strength would increase even more, and most importantly, the rebound would be much less damaging. This was because the Asura energy mixed with star power served to reduce the damage caused by the rebound. What happened? Asked Li Chang, looking at Fang Xue, who was laughing alone. Fang Xue stopped laughing and explained the reason for her happiness, her cheeks slightly flushed. After hearing Fang Xue's explanation, Li Chang was shocked and amazed by the wonders that the Asura lineage could bring. I really want to test my strength now, said Fang Xue, standing up and walking towards the exit of the room. After all, 4 days of cultivation wouldn't help her much at the moment. Moreover, Fang Xue knew that advancing to the next level without a basic mastery of her current powers would be detrimental. So, she was willing to abandon the last 4 days of cultivation. As Fang Xue left the cultivation room, she expected to find no one outside, but to her surprise, there were some people waiting in front of her room. Are you Fang Xue? Asked a slender and beautiful cultivator softly. Yes, replied Fang Xue coldly, as she had already realized that these people had aimed to pick a fight with her. There was no need to be polite. Well, I heard that you are challenging cultivators of the 9th level of body training. So, I came here to accept your challenge, said the slender cultivator, displaying a warm smile, but with a slight coldness in his eyes. Great, I was arrogant to challenge a 9th level cultivator while I was at the 6th level. But now that I have evolved my Asura lineage and reached the 7th level, I have the confidence to win. I just have to be careful, Fang Xue thought coldly, displaying an excited smile behind her veil. She knew it was time to test her abilities and see how far her Asura lineage could take her. With a nod of her head, she accepted the challenge from the slender cultivator and prepared for the battle ahead. Zhao Shen and brutal. Observing Zhao Shen's nod, Fang Xue noticed a slight hint of murderous intent in his eyes. Though brief, she didn't overlook it, which surprised her. Fang Xue realized that her senses had significantly improved after the evolution of her lineage, allowing her to perceive Zhao Shen's ill intentions even without any overt display. "Shall we proceed to the sparring field?" asked Fang Xue, already walking towards the exit with Li Chang in tow. Meanwhile, Zhao Shen seemed even more determined to confront her. Unbeknownst to the Hu family, Zhao Shen was actually a spy for the Le clan, despite having Hu family blood running through his veins. Zhao Shen's father was the late cousin of the current patriarch, Hu Zhong, and Zhao Shen himself was the disciple of the third elder, who had previously attempted to deceive Fang Xue. While Zhao Shen was lost in thought, Fang Xue arrived at the sparring field and noticed that many people were looking at her and whispering. She had experienced this before when she defeated Yuan Tengfi, but this time it felt different. Focusing her ears, Fang Xue could hear the whispers. Brother Zhao claims Fang Xue cheated in her fight against Yuan Tengfi and that he will expose her today. Raising an eyebrow upon hearing this, Fang Xue smiled coldly behind her veil. She had already surmised that Zhao Shen had come to pick a fight with her, but his motives remained unknown. Moreover, he seemed overly confident, indicating that he might have realized she couldn't match opponents at the 9th level of body tempering. Fang Xue began to speculate about Zhao Shen's sudden appearance. She had fought Yuan Tengfi and, though injured and exhausted afterward, had acted as though everything was fine. Therefore, while no one believed she could truly defeat a cultivator at the 9th level, they couldn't dismiss her ability to engage in battle with such opponents, given that no one knew the full extent of her strength based solely on her previous showings. It was the third elder. Li Chang's voice resonated in Fang Xue's mind, informing her of who else knew her true condition at the end of that fight. Reflecting on Li Chang's words, Fang Xue realized that third elder Hu must have known that Tian Chen was on the verge of breaking through to the next level when he entered the cultivation room, yet he still claimed to be at the 7th level of body tempering. When Zhao Shen arrived at the sparring field, silence fell upon the crowd as they watched the slender and beautiful cultivator standing before him, holding a rabbit. "They're finally going to fight," someone in the crowd exclaimed. "What is that mark between Fang Xue's eyebrows?" another cultivator asked, noting the change in Fang Xue's appearance. "It doesn't matter, it only enhances her beauty, she is already stunning, even if we can't see her entire face," said another individual from the crowd. "Her appearance is inconsequential. It is her strength that matters," retorted Yuan Tengfi, who was also among the spectators, his voice loud and slightly cold, capturing everyone's attention. Upon hearing his words, the crowd fell silent and nodded in agreement. "As the younger sister Xue has a lower cultivation level, I'll let you make the first move," said Zhao Shen, wearing a warm smile that portrayed him as a true gentleman. In contrast, Fang Xue readied herself for the fight, eager to test her newfound strength. Focusing her mind, she swiftly launched herself toward Zhao Shen with her sword in hand. To the crowd's surprise, Zhao Shen easily defended against Fang Xue's attack with his black saber, showcasing his skill and combat experience. Undeterred, Fang Xue persisted, fighting with full force. Utilizing her 6th level of body training cultivation, Fang Xue aimed to improve her combat experience by engaging Zhao Shen. Assisted by her Asura lineage, she rapidly advanced her sword mastery. Fang Xue launched a series of fast and precise strikes, yet couldn't gain the upper hand against Zhao Shen, who defended and counterattacked mercilessly. After some time, Fang Xue was covered in blood, scratches, and bruises, but her expression remained unchanged, and her sword never ceased its assault on Zhao Shen. With each passing second, her sword mastery improved. In the midst of a series of attacks, Fang Xue leapt back and examined her injuries with an emotionless face. That should suffice, Fang Xue thought, realizing that her sword mastery, previously at a beginner level, had now reached a satisfactory level, thanks in large part to her Asura lineage, which endowed her with exceptional instincts in battle. Subsequently, Fang Xue elevated her cultivation to the 7th level of body training and utilized Asura star power to enhance her overall strength. Empowered by her newfound strength, Fang Xue launched another relentless assault on Zhao Shen. She swung her sword toward him, and though he tried to dodge the blow, he was wounded in the arm. Staggering backward, Zhao Shen looked at his injured arm with surprise and shock, while Fang Xue advanced with a cold smile on her face. How is this possible? How can she be so strong? Zhao Shen panicked, struggling to comprehend the rapid turn of events. You are strong, but I am stronger, Fang Xue declared as she continued to attack Zhao Shen, who could barely defend himself. Fang Xue utilized all her strength and skill to disarm Zhao Shen, bringing him to his knees. She pointed her sword at his throat but refrained from delivering the killing blow. You have lost, Fang Xue stated, slightly out of breath, after deactivating Asura star power and fixing Zhao Shen with a merciless gaze. Fang Xue was immensely satisfied with Asura star power, which not only increased her strength but also exhibited manageable side effects even after prolonged use. Moreover, Fang Xue recognized that her Asura lineage had played a pivotal role in her victory and acknowledged that she still had much to learn and perfect on her path as a cultivator. The crowd remained stunned and impressed by Fang Xue's strength. Some remarked that she had surpassed her previous performance against Yuan Tengfi, while others insisted it still wasn't enough to contend with Zhao Shen. Nonetheless, nobody had expected such a swift turn of events. Suddenly, Zhao Shen stood up, clearly infuriated by his defeat. He lunged at Fang Xue with his saber in hand, attempting to catch her off guard. However, Fang Xue was prepared for this attack and reacted swiftly, evading Zhao Shen's strikes and countering with her own sword. Fang Xue attacked with astonishing speed and precision, severing Zhao Shen's arm with a single blow. The crowd was horrified by the brutality of the attack, but Fang Xue did not halt her assault. She continued to fight, severing Zhao Shen's other leg and hand until he collapsed to the ground, screaming in pain. Approaching him with a cold and merciless gaze, Fang Xue understood she needed to finish what she had started. She delivered a final blow, castrating Zhao Shen and rendering him a eunuch. This should suffice, Fang Xue thought, observing what she had done to Zhao Shen without a hint of remorse. Fang Xue spared his life solely because she knew the consequences would be even more severe. As expected, within seconds, a heavy aura descended upon the entire sparring field, instilling fear in all present. What has transpired here? A cold voice echoed throughout the sparring field, originating from the sky. The voice coming from the sky indicated that its owner possessed core formation level cultivation. Future plans and demonic qi. Under pressure, the crowd fell silent. Fang Xue remained calm as she walked towards Li Chang, who was lying in a corner of the field, and enveloped her in her arms. With the firmness of someone who feared no consequences, she confronted the third elder, who was standing beside Zhao Shen. As she faced him, she noticed something different in his usually gentle demeanor. His face was dark, and his eyes were cold, but even so, Fang Xue was not intimidated and boldly advanced towards him. The third elder spoke in a frigid tone. Was it you who did this to him? He pointed to his disciple's mutilated body, who lay unconscious from the pain.